It's 6 o'clock, and I'm going to call to order the Select Board meeting of Monday, June 1st. And I am going to look around the table, and everyone is here and accounted for. So we will move forward on our agenda. We always start with public comment. This section of public comment is usually for topics that are not on our agenda. So if someone wants to make a public comment in the room, please come forward. And if you are remote, please raise your hand. Diane, we're going to get there in a minute. Gail, do you want to come up? Yep.
Standing on a podium, but
Sorry.
My name is Gail Heyer, 54 Nancy Road. My public comment tonight is about making decisions based on principles. In 2011, the Select Board adopted 4 sustainability principles. A few years later, the town embarked on Envision Concord long-range planning. That plan established community criteria with plan elements that, and I quote, strive to be fully integrated with town sustainability principles. 3 years ago, the town created a sustainability director position, and last year that position was eliminated. This action didn't initially concern me. I figured if town staff and elected officials and volunteer boards simply use the sustainability principles to evaluate their actions, we will continue to make decisions that align with Concord's values. Unfortunately, these are buried in a goals and history section of the website, and I do not hear them discussed in meetings today. Our sustainability principles should be resurrected and actively used as the town embarks on decision-making regarding land use and zoning. The town is spending a lot of money on consultants to gather public opinion. The Land Use Working Group, in a recent meeting, I know some of you were there, recently discussed doing a survey. While zoning gets decided at town meeting, which is subject to popular vote, decisions about how to use municipal property are not made after a popularity contest. Rather, this board decides how to use municipal property. The town manager can decide, with 0 public input, to lease municipal property for 30 years. Surveys can be a good way to gather data about the current use of certain parcels or brainstorm about possible future uses. But decisions by board members and town staff should always be justified using existing principles. One way to honor these principles is committing not to develop Peter Spring Field for municipal use. Preserving agricultural uses meets principles 3 and 4, which are reducing encroachment upon nature and meeting human needs fairly and efficiently. Envision Concord recommended ensuring that farmland remains committed to agricultural uses. We don't need to reinvent the wheel every time decisions must be made. Please remember the sustainability principles and Envision Concord when making decisions today.
Great. Thank you, Gail. Appreciate it. We do think a lot about sustainability in a lot of different forums, but it's always good to have a reminder. So thank you. I thought I saw Diane Proctor's hand up, but it was now down. So,
She's still
okay.
there, but she took it down.
She took it down. Okay. I do not see any more public comments in the room or online. So we will move forward. I just want to make one additional comment before we get to the consent agenda, and that is that I just want to remind folks that while we have public comment in the beginning of the meeting, which is aimed on those topics that are not on the agenda, we will take comments in the course of the agenda on topics as they come up. So if you are interested in making comments on agenda topics, please raise your hand if you're here, and online, use the raise hand feature. So just a quick comment about public comments. Good. Okay. So with that, I think we're ready to move on to the consent agenda.
Yeah, is there anything that people wanted to follow off on the consent agenda or anything for discussion?
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Got a lot of minutes completed.
Yeah,
It's great.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as published.
Is there a second?
Second. I just have a comment. I want to thank Kristen. It was a big load of minutes.
Yes.
A big load and a lot of comments. And some of us made multiple comments. Contradictory comments.
Comments on the comments.
Yeah,
So I really appreciate this. It was a
Yes.
heavy load, especially this
yeah,
time.
I second that.
okay. All right, so no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you again, Kristen. All right.
Okay, and then next up, we have select board appointments. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Does anybody have any comments around the select board appointments?
No?
Okay, then with that, I'm going to make a motion to approve the select board appointments of Aaron Piro of 33 Stacy Circle to the West Concord Cultural District Committee, the full term from June 1st, 2026 through May 31st, 2029. Alex Hassinger of 87 Elsner Street to the Concord Municipal Affordable Trust. The Municipal Affordable Housing Trust? Is that right?
Yes, you're right, yes.
Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust for a term to expire on May 31st.
You have an extra one. Okay,
Extra
sorry.
microphone.
There's an extra one over here.
For a term to expire on May 31st, 2028. Chloe
We're
Fadul
okay.
of 89 7 Star Lane as a full member of the Agricultural Committee for a term from June 1st, 2026 through May 31st, 2028. Deborah Page of 1 Concord Green to the Concord Cultural Council for a term from June 1st, 2026 through May 31st, 2029. Wendy Ravelli of 42 Bow Street to the Minuteman Advisory Group on Interlocal Coordination for a term ending May 31st, 2027. Wendy Ravelli of 42 Bow Street to the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority Advisory Board as the Town of Concord representative for a term ending May 31st, 2027. And finally, Cameron McKenna of 64 Nut Meadow Crossing to the Financial Audit Advisory Board for a term ending May 31st, 2027.
Second.
Great. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and then one more appointment. I'm going to make a motion to approve the town manager appointment with the approval of the select board of K. Rose O'Neill of 115 Stowe Street to the Commission on Disability for a term from June 1st, 2026 through May 31st, 2029.
Second?
Second, yeah.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Great. All right, moving on to Chair's report. I'll just note, we have a very long agenda tonight. It goes till 9:30. So we'll all make our part to try to move the agenda along as quickly as we can. I have a couple quick updates. One is I just want to acknowledge we had an absolutely great kickoff for the Pianos on the Town. It was held this last Saturday despite the rain. It coincides with the 20th anniversary of the Concord Conservatory of Music, and there'll be 8 pianos scattered around town in different events scheduled around those. And I just want to share that there's some great brochures and events planned, so
Yep.
pass these around.
I have
See
one.
that? That's great. Next, this coming Saturday, we have Concord Pride Fest occurring in town. Events start at 9 o'clock at the library. There's a parade down the center of Main Street. There'll be music, flag raising, a lot of different events. So I want to just bring that to the public's attention. And then second, or third, I should say, I have 2 resignations for committees that the Select Board needs to be aware of because you'll play a role in trying to recruit them. The first is that Dee Ortner has resigned from the Minuteman Regional Vocational School Committee, so we need to replace her. So if you are aware of folks who are interested in the vocational school or have potentially parents with kids in the school, please mention this to them, and we certainly would accept a volunteer card for that committee. And next, unfortunately, John Boynton has resigned from the MCI Concord Master Plan Committee. And he's had to do that out of just demands for his business and travel, and he's unable to make the next charrette session. So it's unfortunate, he regrets that, but we'll have to open up that recruitment, so volunteer cards are welcome, so along with that. So with that, I am done, and any comments on that? No? Update. All right, Carrie, then up to you for the town manager's report.
Okay, thank you and good evening. I also will keep this short in recognition of the length of the agenda. This evening, I did want to report to the board that today, the Concord Fire Department did file the license application with OEMS for the ALS ambulance service. I think you heard about that at your
Yep.
last meeting. So as the chief noted previously, this is a 3 to 4 month process. But we are tracking well, and I'd like to offer my congratulations to the fire department for moving this project along. I did want to make a note about the road project that is ongoing, about the number of miles that are being done. So the approximate 50 miles that were reported in the project's report is over the 5-year life of the project. So the current contract that we have out is for 2 years, and as I understand it, there's approximately 25 lane miles that are included in that project. I wanted to clear that up. Nevertheless, we have a lot of road construction work happening, and we are keeping the website up to
Yes.
date with the closures and where people should expect delays. Let me see. I wanted to mention that over the summer, the town will be meeting regularly with the finance department. I think with the finance committee. I think we're calling this Town Department 101. Finance committee is taking a deep dive into understanding the operations of the town departments, and each meeting, over the course of 5 meetings, we have several of our department managers coming in to present their budget or their operations and spending to the Finance Committee. So if there's any interest in that, please tune in to the Finance Committee meeting. Earlier today, our Economic Vitality Manager, Mimi Graney, issued her monthly newsletter. There's a lot of good information in that. We also issued Concord Currents today, and there were a couple of things that I wanted to mention. And the first is that our water and sewer superintendent, on behalf of the town, received an award it was a water conservation award recognizing public water suppliers that meet the Mass DEP Water Management Act conservation standards. And ours included maintaining residential water usage below 65 gallons per capita per day. So I wanted to mention that award. There were only 2 communities in the Commonwealth that received that award.
Wow, that's impressive.
The 2025 Annual Water Quality Report is available. That is available online. Let's see, we'll be talking quite a bit about the MCI master planning process later in the agenda, so I'll leave that. I did want to note that the Health Division is reporting that there was one positive case of alpha-gal syndrome, which is a tick-borne illness, and obviously we're in that season and want to make sure that people take the appropriate precautions when they're out walking around. We have some information on tick-borne illnesses on the website. Let's see, there's a lot of other good news in Concord Currents, so I would encourage people, if you are not subscribed to that, to do so, and you can do that on the website. And I will end, and I know the Select Board knows this, but just an announcement to the community that recently the town received 2 additional grants from MassDOT. One was for the Spencer Brook Road Culvert Replacement Project. This is located at 25 Spencer Brook Road. The grant award was for just under $689,000. That is almost 100% of that project. Right. And then the second was for the Main Street, Church Street, Pine Street traffic signal upgrade project. And this was a design award, and the estimated value on that is $150,000 to $200,000. We are tracking grants online, so this actually doubles what we have tracked online. So we're at about $1.9 million
Great.
For the year in grants.
That's wonderful. Excellent. Additional questions in that report?
No, thank you. Can I ask one question? So just because I've heard from a few folks about watering. So you mentioned water. Is there maybe just a reminder for folks what the sort of lawn watering policy is? And I assume it's one is it sort of a permanent policy, or is it one that goes in season?
Yeah, so in Concord Currents, there is an update on watering. It is also available online. We have a level 2 significant drought designation. And so you can go online. That means that lawn and turf watering is prohibited. There's a lot of detail, but I would encourage people to look online.
Okay.
But just know that we are in a level 2 significant drought designation at the moment.
Gotcha.
I have a question on grant writing. Grant writing requires a lot of knowledge and skill, and it's difficult, and we've had great success. Is the grant writing in town spread out a number of people? I like to kind of show appreciation for the individuals that actually put the time in for writing those grants. I'm sure it's not one person.
Yeah, it's not. I know some communities do have a specific grant writer. We had a staff member who had that designation. That was one of multiple designations. We no longer have that position. It is spread out, so it is really by department, and I would say between Megan's office, Community Development, and Public Works, they're doing the majority, but I mean, we've talked before about the grant that the town received for the ADA self-evaluation plan. That was Human Services. So most of our departments are actively involved in grant writing, and fortunately, we've had quite a bit of success over the last couple of years.
I personally would like to know who the people are to get the recognition. It's up to you whether you want. They're all team efforts, but there are individuals that lead those, so I'd be interested, online or offline, to understand that.
Great.
So just backing up over the consent agenda, there's one item buried in the middle of the consent agenda, which is that there's going to be a performance held on a Sunday. And so there has to be a special Sunday license to entertain. The state charges $5 for this. It's kind of a de minimis charge because we must have a blue law somewhere that says you cannot entertain on Sundays.
Yeah.
Concord charges $50 for this. Well, can't we just do the same thing the state is doing? Why do we have to have such a stiff fee for entertainment on a Sunday? Is there a question?
Yeah, no, we can, do you want to speak to that, Carrie?
Well, just, it's part of our fee schedule. We do, I wouldn't say that we look at our fee schedule and update annually, but we do it on a regular basis. And that's something we certainly can look at.
Those were just updated this past January, a lot of the planning ones anyways.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
Okay. Anyway,
And
I'm
they were
looking at the form, and
benchmarked,
it's like,
but
it's
that's
literally
good, yep.
$2 for the state and
Okay.
$50 if you're from Concord, so it just seems
Does
a
the
little...
fee cover the cost of the administration, the paperwork?
No, I don't. Kristen processes those applications, so I would say if it takes in total anywhere from an hour or more, it's $50 is
Exactly.
a
It costs
very-
more than $5 to process it, I think is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, okay. It just seems like kind
Okay.
of a disconnect with what the state is.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. So moving on, our next agenda item, thank you, Carrie, is for the grant of easement. And is Darren online?
Aaron LaFallum is.
Yep.
I am. Good evening.
Great. All right, Darren?
I'll try to make this brief out of respect to your agenda. There was an easement issued, voted in favor by the Select Board back in December of 2025 for Harness Lane and Saddle Road. After installing the infrastructure, they realized that the easement was much more invasive to the properties there than necessary. They were able to install most of the infrastructure within a 10-foot right-of-way. The infrastructure will remain private property, but the Water and Sewer Department will need access to operate it as necessary. This easement, the initial easement gave us that access. This request for modification minimizes the easement while still granting us the access we need to operate it. So I request that the Select Board vote to approve this modification of easement.
Great. The materials were in the package. I have to admit, I have a hard time reading all those engineering documents.
Me too.
But I know we approved it
It's funny.
before, and it's
Out of all those
less.
drawings, there's one little dotted line that cuts across the corner of one lot that was of interest to this conversation.
Okay.
I tried to find that dotted line.
I did too. I found the W
I
line.
had to have our engineer help me find it, trust me.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right. Are there questions from the board?
Is Darren the person who got the award that you were just talking about a few minutes ago?
It was a departmental award, but I was happy to receive it for the department.
Congratulations.
Great, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. I think we might be ready for a motion.
Sounds good if it's
Yeah.
only reducing. and
It's
you're
reducing.
before.
Yes.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the revised grant of easement for Saddle Lane and Harness Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Yep,
it.
good luck with the rest of your meeting.
All right. All right, and I see Alyssa Sandoval online. So we're going to move on to our update for the MCI Concord Planning Committee. Alyssa?
Hi,
Lisa, sorry.
Elisa Sandoval, Community Development Director. I did have a presentation in the packet, which I can pull up. This was a presentation that the Stantec team gave to the MCI Master Plan Committee last week. And it kind of highlighted a lot of material, especially the upcoming Charrette Week. So I can share that and kind of go through that with you all, if that makes sense.
Sure. You can do the highlights, it'd be great.
Okay, let me just share my screen. Can you see this?
Not yet, it's coming. Yep,
There we go.
we're there.
Okay.
We got it.
Yep.
Okay. Great. So, so just to kind of go over the agenda that they had presented last week was just going into a little bit more detail on the Design Charrette Week and the logistics and all the community events related to that, a little bit more on the site itself, and just a bit more on the Junction Village parcel. So, going to the next slide. So just kind of overview of the whole process so far. Right now, we're in the phase of developing the illustrative plan, and that sort of lays out the basic dimensions of the site, density, potential, heights, the mix of uses that could be on the site. And then, so that's where we're right now. We anticipate finishing that up by mid-July. And then we're going to be going into developing the framework plan, and the framework plan really lays out some of the more specifics with regard to developing the site, how the phases would work, how it interacts with Junction Village. There are a number of easements that would be required, as well as site access to and from the parcels. So that is where the framework plan lies. And then the draft zoning is anticipated we'll start working on that in September, with draft zoning ready by the end of November. So just kind of showing where we are in the process right now. And so the Design Charrette Week, that is June 8th to June 11th, and that is really our big signature very intensive community engagement week, where we have a number of ways that the public can interact with the master planning process, give input, ask questions. The two major events, public events, are on Monday and Thursday evening. The first one is an opening workshop session on Monday evening, and that is at the Harvey Wheeler Center. And then Thursday evening is sort of closing the Design Charrette Week with some proposed alternatives options for the site, and that would be Thursday evening. And those are really the two events that we really want to encourage the public to go to if they're able to. They will be live streamed on Minuteman Media and available. They will be recorded and available later as well, but really encourage people to come to those. There'll also be 2 open studio periods where people can drop in on Tuesday and Wednesday, as well as a number of stakeholder focus group meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on those sessions too. So the Monday and Thursday evening, those sessions will be, as I mentioned, on Monday and Thursday. Monday, we're really, evening, we'll really set out the design principles and sort of framework for the master plan process, and really how there'll be some opportunities there for the community to give input directly. And then Thursday will really be capping off the entire week with an actual presentation of some options for the site and getting people's feedback on actual plans. So then on Tuesday and Wednesday, these are the days where we'll have drop-in open studios. So Tuesday from 2 to 4 and Wednesday from 10:30 to 12:30. So this is where the designers are going to be working on the plans in progress in real time. And this is where the public, residents, committee members can stop in, see the plans as they develop, ask questions, give input. They're going to be set up in the community hearing room at the townhouse, and so encourage people to go to those times as well. We do have a steering committee that is scheduled for June 11th, and that's just a kind of informal meeting. It will be a publicly noticed meeting, but it is for the MCI master plan to get some initial view of the plans as they progress. And that's scheduled for 11 on Thursday. And then we've also been scheduling many stakeholder focus groups discussions for Tuesday and Wednesday, and they're on a variety of topics. We've had a lot of great input from the MCI Master Plan Committee on groups that they had identified as really important to get early feedback from, and this is really because these groups will really have play an important role in the physical site layout, whether that's housing, land use, natural resources, those kinds of things that really play a big part into the physical development of the site. So some of the focus groups that have been identified: economic development, historic preservation, housing and schools, natural resources and conservation, recreation, transportation. We have two dedicated sessions where nearby residents can come and also hear more about the plan and provide their input, as well as a dedicated session for West Concord businesses in particular. And Santec did present a bit more on the site itself and some of their findings. We had a site visit of the MCI Concord as well as Junction Village on April 24th, where the team was really able to get more of a lay of the land, see where the specific constraints were, look at Junction Village, look at some of the buildings where Public Works had an interest in potential use of those buildings, and just kind of really acknowledging that the master plan does involve two property owners, the Division of Capital Management and Maintenance, as well as Concord Housing Development Corporation. The town of Concord does not own any property. I mean, that's it seems obvious to say that, but it is an important point to make that that these are two property owners that would be affected by this master plan. And just some of the interests that these particular property owners have expressed, during one-on-one meetings, through the visioning process as well. For DCAM, housing is very critically important to include as part of the master plan, and they really are interested in creating a place that Concord is proud of. They want the project to be economically viable. That is from DCAM's perspective. And they have a sense of urgency in seeing the development of the site, as every day and every week that the site is vacant, it becomes more deteriorated. And so they have a sense of urgency in developing the site. And for CHDC, affordable housing is very important, obviously. And affordable housing up to 50% AMI. As part of the Junction Village, open space is allowed. And they did have a request for proposals back in 2024, which included ownership units, highly efficient fossil fuel design, and housing for all ages. So that was our previous RFP effort. And just kind of laying out the site itself and some of the, the areas that comprise the site. We have the Department of Correction land, that's agricultural land that cannot be developed. On one side of the site, we also have constraints with wetlands along the river here in Assabet River. And so there are some constraints related to the site that they had pointed out. And they did point out some of the buildings on the site itself that Public Works does have interest in. They're sort of outlined in red in the master plan layout here. So just kind of wanted to note that. And then obviously some of the kind of variables, wild cards that we are trying to work around is really the extent of the Concord Rotary redesign and all the different options that may be proposed by MassDOT that may take, more or less of the actual developable site itself. And then to what extent does Public Works, do Public Works facilities play a role in the development? Which buildings, how many buildings would Public Works be locating on the master plan site? And then, of course, really taking into account the wastewater treatment plant area, which is a very critically important part of Concord's interest in the MCA site itself. And just really talked a lot about the importance of mobility for the site. Route 2 is critically important. Making sure that Route 2 works well can help to minimize the amount of cut-through traffic that Concord residents will see throughout town. So making sure Route 2 is flows smoothly does help with cut-through traffic. And then really some of the other things are very important is determining where access would be located to the MCI development, and really ensuring that any points of access limit any potential for cut through that impact nearby residents. And really taking into account the ownership of the roads, really needing to look at that very closely, and making sure that there are good options for bicycle and pedestrian connections, really taking into account the location of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, as well as potential sidewalk and other areas that are connecting to and from and across Route 2. So, just highlighting how potentially walkable the site is. If you're using the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, it is a 12-minute walk to the West Concord Commuter Rail Station. It's a 3-minute bike ride, so it is a very highly, highly advantageous from a bicycle pedestrian point of view. And then they're really, the consultant team is really building on the vision plan and all the work that was done there. And, really taking into account the 5 principles of redevelopment that were outlined in the vision plan itself, really highlighting that need for green habitat along the Assabet and climate resiliency and sustainability, really taking into account the unique character of Concord and a unique place to live, a walkable neighborhood, and also economically viable, and positively contributing to Concord in terms of livability, traffic, and fiscally balancing out. So we had a little bit of discussion at the committee meeting, just getting people's feedback on the site and other things that we should be aware of. Some initial discussion of building height and housing types. And then a little bit more on Junction Village itself, getting people's input on the Junction Village site, as it will be incorporated in part of this master planning effort. And then talked a little bit about the history of the Junction Village site, and how in 2013 that site was conveyed from Massachusetts to CHTC. It's a 12-acre site, and from 2015 to 2022, a proposal was submitted for 83 units of affordable assisted living, and then that ran into some issues, apparently from financial and political issues. And then in 2023 to 2024, a second RFP that had been developed was paused, and part of the reason it was paused was the knowledge that the MCI site proper was going to be closed. The prison was going to be closed by the state and potentially redeveloped. So there was an opportunity to perhaps link into that plan. And so just to recap, the CHC goal is really to maintain that long-term affordable housing, and that the site itself does have limited street access and visibility. So they're very, interested in so far is to really be engaged with this process. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and just, if anybody has any questions, happy to answer any.
I'm going to look around the board. Mary?
I have a question. Thank you, Elisa. This is very good, very helpful. I have two questions, actually. The first question is, on the map that you showed that has the green hashing that shows the areas that are either wetlands or agricultural land that aren't, you outlined some buildings that I think you think DPW has an interest in. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, but then on the
Yes.
on a next slide where we show the Route 2, the extent of the Route 2 rotary redesign options, it looks like there are different buildings that have DPW interest indicated. So I guess my real question is, what's the process, and when will we know what buildings are included in the DPW site if that is cited there? Do you see where I'm saying the buildings are different?
Yes.
Yeah, so we
Yes,
don't
I think
have an
there were a
agreement.
couple of different options for the DPW, for the Public Works buildings. There was an option of, I think one additional building. I know they had interest in potentially 3 buildings. And so I think this is just part of the process, the planning process of figuring out and honing down what buildings, what makes sense. And we're not at the point where I can tell you definitively right now when that is going to be.
Lisa, sorry. In one of these graphics, the buildings are in red, but if I am correct, I believe those were reusable buildings, not necessarily all Public Works targeted buildings, so if I recall. So the gym, for example,
Okay.
I think was just a reusable building. I think
Got it.
that's what I believe it was. So it shouldn't be confusing, but I do agree with you, Mary, that part of this process, we must define what is Public Works, what is the preferred space. So that'll be critical to the whole planning
Yeah,
process.
and knowing when. I mean, we have a nice, neat timeline here to get a zoning package, hopefully, to town meeting, but I think this is a very important part. This and the wastewater treatment
Absolutely.
plant
Yep.
are very important parts of this whole process. I have a comment, not a question. We know that DCAM wants this to be economically feasible, and by that, I think they mean that it's attractive to developers. And I know that the vision design principles included something called, I guess, fiscal something. I forget what it was called. But I want to emphasize that during that process, we were very clear that we wanted this to be net revenue positive to the town. So balancing out isn't really good enough. We're hoping to make it a net positive contributor to the town. I want to emphasize that. Thank you.
Mary, it's Wendy. I just want to, the MCI Master Plan Committee emphasized that same point.
Great.
It was one of the values
It's
that we
not in the
identified.
slides.
No, it's not here, but it is one of the
Okay,
things, the
okay.
5 that we
Thank you.
identified.
Yes,
Right.
agree with that completely,
Cameron?
Mary. I think that's a great point. And to me, don't we have to do Public Works? Don't we sort of have to create two options? Because we don't actually own the decision entirely, right? So we almost have to create what might it look like with Public Works there? What might it look like without it?
So as part of the planning, I think, yes, I think you're
Don't we
right.
have to? Because my understanding is we don't really know whether, it's not like we can just decide to put it there, right? I mean,
So remember in the master plan charge, we gave the committee direction that said we would like to see Public Works on that site. And what we need to do is identify the feasibility of that, because the feasibility includes, is the space, but also we have to meet the housing targets. And, the other part of feasibility is the rest of the land for new developers and potential remediation costs. So it's a whole very large evaluation, and there will be a lot of outreach to potential developers around their interest in development and what their issues are going to be, trying to come to the table. And the state is very interested in making sure that it's viable in that way as well. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, part of the feasibility, obviously, is cost, and that's sort of on us. I mean, it's our decision. We have to understand that. But as far as the MOU, TCAM is pretty much on board with this option. So it's not, it's not nailed down yet. But to Cameron's point, yes, we do have to have a backup plan. But this seems to be the default planning right now, subject to financial.
Right, that's
due
the
diligence.
direction. That's the direction that we've given
Yeah.
the committee and the consultants. I also just want to comment. So you mentioned the MOA. We did get some additional feedback from the state, and Carrie and I are going to be following up with Mina, and we will eventually have another follow-up meeting in an executive session on that. So that process is going to be moving forward. So
Great.
when? Can't tell exactly, but we're going to schedule that. So, Dean, did you have any questions on?
The only thing I was
Yeah.
going to offer is that if we are dedicated to getting CPW onto the site, there's been this conversation about some expansiveness of DCAM's thinking about where housing goes, which may
Yeah.
include
Right.
some
Right.
horse trading to take, like
Yes.
CPW's coming off of
Right.
Kai's Road.
Right.
Maybe we zone that for housing and
Yes.
make a deal, so to
Yep,
speak.
yep.
Or housing at other sites as well.
Right, and housing, yeah, right.
So there's, it expands the conversation, but I think
Right.
that it gives us more arrows in the quiver to get what we want, CPW on this site.
Right, which is all the more reason to get crystal clear on what that site needs to be, right?
Exactly.
And also within the wastewater treatment plant,
Yes.
there's also, some presumed guidelines on where residential can be
Right.
within 300, it has to be outside of 300 feet of the wastewater treatment plant, so that's also a consideration in the planning. Paul?
Just one more comment. At the steering committee, I mentioned sort of the intersection of two of our favorite topics, MCI and wireless cell coverage. And the question was, given all the housing and development here, do we have adequate coverage in the future of the site? I don't know what the answer is yet, but I mean, part of the planning should answer that question.
Yep, and you made that clear. Yep, so it's,
I'm not
the
advocating
consultants
it.
got it. Yeah.
They got it. We got it too.
Right. No, but I think, as we as a town start addressing our cell coverage, we're not going to lose sight of that, and I'm sure Megan will keep that top of mind also.
Okay.
So I just want to comment on one thing. So this update is part of our commitment to keep this board apprised of what's happening with MCI. We'll continue to have this on the agenda. It might be that we have a written report on occasion, but we'll do our best to give you what's most relevant.
This was great. This worked for me.
Yeah, no, good.
This was great.
Elisa, thank you.
And one last
For that,
comment.
yes.
The postcard that went out to everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alyssa, the postcard that went out to everybody was great. I mean, it's in everybody's mailbox, and I know there was some discussion about whether to do that or not. That was the
Yeah.
right thing to do. So everybody knows.
Yep, everyone knows. Elisa, I just want to make one other comment. We have gotten, or I've gotten some feedback about the timing of people who are working full-time are going to find it very difficult to come to these sessions. And I've just reminded those individuals that people can make comments online on the MCI Concord website. There is a place where you can add your feedback. I encourage people to go to that Monday and Thursday night, it will be recorded on MMN, so if they can't make it that night, they should follow up and then still submit comments. And also reminding people that all the feedback that we got in the Vision project, we're still leveraging all that information. So we're not starting from square zero, we're starting from there and going forward. So it's an important point. Sorry. Yes. Yes, I was getting there now. Are there any comments from the public or questions? Yeah, Gail, if you want to you've got to come up to the table and speak to the mic. And I'll remind those who are remote, if you have questions, to please raise your hand.
Thanks. Gail Heyer, 54 Nancy Road. So this is something that I've communicated with Megan Zamuto about, and that is to the point about wireless and the MCI Concord site. There's an existing antenna structure that is on, I guess, DOT property. I think it's got radios or non-wireless communications bylaw things on it, but I think it should be seriously considered for additional equipment because everyone knows there's a tower there. It's very close to the MCI site. And I really think that needs to be part of discussions. I don't know if that's something that Mr. Bohm was referring to, but
Yes.
I'd like to see that as part of the discussions.
And I'll remind you that we also have the Department of Transportation looking at a Route 2 road redesign, and they may need to move that. So we don't know, but I think we've got good dialogue with the Department of Transportation, so I think that's a good point.
Yeah,
We'll
I mean,
follow
I
up on
think
that. Yep.
just to keep in mind, a cell tower doesn't have to be permanent. I mean, even the one at the landfill 20 years ago was intended to be a 3-year lease. So something could be put up there now while the redesign is ongoing, and that would improve coverage. So just something to keep in mind.
Okay, thank you. All right, and I do not see any raised hands online, so we will proceed with our agenda. And Matt, thank you for joining us.
You do have a hand up.
There's a hand up. Oh, Diane Proctor. Sorry, Matt. Diane? You have to unmute, and then I think you're being promoted.
Be allowed to unmute.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
There she is.
Yeah. Diane? There you go. Oh,
Hi, Wendy. Thank you so much, and thank you, Select Board. I just want you to say that something is, for half an hour, we couldn't get online. We couldn't see anything. We all got kicked off. There was an unstable internet connection. And bless Megan Zamuto, who responds when you write a note and say, help, we can't hear, we can't see things. If it weren't for Megan, there'd be no way to communicate, which is actually what I was going to say in my public comment, but I'll save that for the next meeting for the public comment, which is how frustrating it is if you're online and can't be there, that we can't communicate with you to say, help, we can't hear, or yes, we can add something. So thank you so much. I just wanted to say that one of the things I did not get from, because I came in, because it only just kicked on a little bit into the presentation, is what time on Monday evening is it?
see if I have it right in front of me.
6
Yeah, 6?
p.m.
Yeah, doors open at 5:45.
Okay.
It starts at 6.
And at 6? And where is it, hon?
The first one, Harvey Wheeler, is Monday night, and on Thursday, it is at the CCHS cafeteria.
Okay, thank you so much, because repeating that will be good for all of us who were kicked off. Okay,
Yep.
thank you so much. And
Sure.
thank you, Megan. Bye.
And sorry, Diane, we thought we did a sound check. I guess we need to do a video check. We'll double check.
Yeah,
that next time.
it wasn't a sound check.
Yep.
We could hear you, I mean, but then suddenly, our whole internet connection went off. The town website, we couldn't get on the town website, we couldn't
Okay.
find a way of reconnecting. And Megan politely suggested it might be our internet situation here, but actually, I've been on Zoom all day long. And then suddenly, it kicked right back on. So I'm grateful to communicate that, and thank you so much. I don't mean to take any more time. Thank you.
No, thank you, Diane, for being so resourceful and finding Megan. Because the rest of us are kind of busy trying to watch the meeting. Sorry. Okay, so back to the agenda. We have Matt Johnson here. Matt, thank you for joining us. You have the next 2 agenda items. We're starting with the MCI conflict of interest form that you have submitted.
Yes, so
Yep.
Matt Johnson, 21 Winthrop Street. You appointed me to the MCI Concord Master Plan Committee. And just like when I joined the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust, there was a potential conflict of interest, sort of by rote. Our property line ends 290 feet from the Junction Village site. And so by definition, by the state, I have a financial interest in the property, unless you can, relieve that in effect by, I make a declaration.
Yep.
And the declaration follows very similar lines to the one that I submitted for the Affordable Housing Trust. Obviously, there's a sort of broader purpose in the MCI Master Plan Committee relative to that site. But as I have done all the way through Planning Board, Select Board, et cetera, I do plan to continue to recuse myself in any discussions that are specific to the Junction Village site, but would like to participate, with your permission, in conversations that relate to the overall plan that can include Junction Village as part of a broader site.
Yep. I have no concerns with that. Can I just get feedback from other board members? No?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Since the master plan is going to talk about access, and I know that access, you're in Winthrop Street, and
Yeah.
we haven't ruled in or out access.
That's why I proposed to recuse myself
Right.
from discussions about access to that site. Yeah.
Okay, so you,
Among access and then, the nature of the housing that's there, that kind of thing.
so you can recruit just access in general, not just to that, because that may not be an entrance to the entire MC. I don't know what the
Right.
steering committee's, what the consultant's going to come up with.
Right, and it's a little complex because
Yeah.
actually, when I talked to the attorney, at the state ethics office, he said that I was kind of going above and beyond, that if you all wanted to, you could just say, hey, you can talk about anything. But I do think that there is a potential conflict of interest on that one issue. And so that's why I have proposed to continue to recuse myself on those points. But yeah, so if there's an overall transportation plan, I could just weigh in on that. But we did a site walk in April, and Jeff Speck started making comments about the access to that site, and I just said nothing.
Yeah.
So that's all I can do, I guess.
Yep.
It's a complex situation.
Thank you for bringing this forward.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the transparency. Read the document. I'm in total agreement with how you've approached it, so
Okay.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Okay. Do we have general agreement to accept
Yes.
this form? Okay, I don't think it requires a vote. It does require a vote.
So
Okay.
I'll make a
Cameron?
motion that we
Yeah.
approve the disclosure
Yep.
agreement that is made by Matt Johnson as it pertains to the MCI Concord Master Plan Committee, as well as is it also as well as the Concord, the
The Affordable Housing Trust, you already approved.
Affordable
Yeah.
Housing Trust?
You already approved that.
Yeah, we did
Got
that
it.
before.
Okay, so sorry, let me start that again then, because so I'm going to make a motion that we approve the disclosure by Matt Johnson with regards to the MCI Concord Master Plan Committee.
Okay, so a second? Okay. Had a lot of discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate your coming forward with
And
that.
then I think Rich
Okay.
Feely, who's
Yes.
president of the Concord Housing Foundation, would like to join me. Before we dive into the next agenda item, two items. One is I do need to be able to present
Yeah.
from my laptop,
So,
so I've
Kristen,
made
can
a
you give her-
request for that. Says sharing's not turned on. And then, actually, Rich will give a little intro into what the foundation is, because sometimes people are confused by the number of
I think
different-
that's a great idea. Thank
As
you.
they say in the Agatha Christie movies, you may wonder why I've invited you here. No.
Well-
I think
Rich, can you just introduce yourself and your
I'm
address?
Rich
for the
Feely,
record?
president of the Concord Housing Foundation, 347 Lexington Road. And the foundation, which is now over 20 years old, has as its goal to catalyze both investments and policies that will increase the supply of affordable housing in Concord, affordable broadly defined, so that we can maintain a spectrum of families, individuals with different economic statuses in this town. And we're at a crucial point now, as you've just heard. We're not only dealing with where to put revamped public facilities, we're dealing with MCI And we feel it's important to make a statement about the housing goals of town. Ordinarily, you do that in the housing production plan, but that's a year and a half off. And we're going to have zoning regulations proposed. We're going to have preliminary decisions on siting municipal facilities before that's done. And Matt, bless him, volunteered to put together a statement of what the town needs. We're presenting this to you now because we want your input. We're not asking you to say, oh, this is a wonderful plan or this is awful. But we would like you to look at it, comment on it. We're going to the other organizations that are affected, such as the CHTC. And ultimately, we'd like to see this become a statement that would be foundational to both the housing production plan and hopefully to the decisions about what goes where in this town, so that there is a where for the affordable and attainable housing that we need. And with that, to the author.
All right.
Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I understand. We have an affordable housing trust.
Yes, that's a state, that's a town body.
We have the housing authority.
That's also a town body that administers the town-owned
We have the housing development.
corporation, which,
Development.
you know, gets solicitation and development of those new sites.
Right. And so the housing foundation
Is not a town entity.
It's a 501c3. You may recall the agreement we reached with the town. We have privately raised almost $400,000 to expand the farmhouse at Barrett's Mill Farm to accommodate 2 full families.
Because it did not fit the regulations that the Affordable
CHTC
Housing
couldn't do.
Trust could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is an entity independent of the town of Concord.
That's right.
Right.
Okay, so similar to like when we had the 250 committee and we had also a separate group of people.
I guess.
I was appointed by the town.
Yeah, that was a town.
I would argue it is more separate, and it has a much longer history now, over 20 years, of contributing to projects and arguing for policies that we think would make a difference.
Okay, so when we're going through a housing strategy proposal, this is the 501c3 saying this is what
We hope that the town will
the town will look at.
follow. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So an
right.
independent entity saying, hey, townspeople, this is what we would like you to think about.
But
That said, I think that you'll find encoded into this are priorities that the select board has set for workforce housing, that, you know, the trust has set and
Just
so on.
wanted to get the
Yeah.
puzzle
And-
pieces.
It's really that the foundation has
yes.
the flexibility, I think, to quickly pull something like this together, because, you know, we are just a charitable organization.
And then just a comment. So the Housing Foundation is part of the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing.
No.
You're not part of the group, but you're always part, wait,
We're part of the round
I'm
table.
sorry, I'm the round table. That's what I meant.
That's
Sorry. I'm
And
looking
there are
at
a couple
Keith
of
and
us
I'm
that
like,
have
yeah,
s-
right.
sat on both
Right,
sides
right.
of the same
Yes.
fence.
You included,
Yeah.
yes.
So-
All right, sorry, but the round table is what I meant.
We
Yeah.
are somewhat zealous about our independence.
Yes. All right,
And today
For that.
yeah.
today you were the think tank.
We're the
Right.
think tank.
You're the housing think tank
Well, we
tonight.
also are, you know,
You're a
we
good
also do
collaborator.
hope, try to fund
We also
things.
pass the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Operationalize some things.
Yeah, we're a foundation.
Right.
Okay.
All right, Matt, so,
All right, so,
thank you.
so
Yeah.
I think that Rich definitely has set the stage for why this document came to be, and now I'm just going to delve into the strategies itself. And, you know, the conditions I think you're well aware of is that, you know, the current median house in Concord is 1.4 million. It's way above what many existing residents in Concord could even afford to buy, you know, if they were to move there today. And as a result, you're seeing that the nature of the home buyers has changed, the nature of where our municipal employees live has changed over time, and that we continue to lack diversity. So, you know, that's a set of problems that are pretty durable problems. They're not unique to Concord. But we have a unique opportunity to make progress in solving them, and that's because in the past, you never would have sites. You know, that was always the big problem. There's no land. Well, now suddenly, you know, we not only have the MCI Concord site with the state establishing housing as a key priority, but we also have the municipal consolidation that's taking place through the Land Use Working Group that is potentially going to make new sites available that the town would have some control over. And so, you know, the goal here is to say, if we take the right strategies, there are ways in which we can improve affordability while not breaking the bank. And so, and also, we're in a mode now where Concord voters really have shown that they've been favorable to inclusive zoning in recent times. So that we really we'll never have a better chance to make some progress here than we are now. And so, you can really summarize quickly the situation in the next slide, which is that if you took that median house and you tried to imagine somebody putting down 20% and then, you know, paying a mortgage for that thing with their 30% of their income, they need to earn around $400,000 as a household. And that's about 250% of the Boston area median. So these are, you know, we've gone as a town from being sort of a premium town to a super premium to a luxury town at this point. And even with condominiums, they're now around 700,000 for a median, and, you know, it's about 160% of median income. And those are typically smaller units. So we need more affordable housing of various kinds to attract young families that we're not getting today, to fill our schools, which are losing students. We need to be able to try and accommodate service, municipal, and agricultural workers, and elders who are aging in place and are on fixed incomes and want to downsize but have no place to go. We also want to foster a more diverse and welcoming and equitable community, and financial wherewithal is a key element of that. So the proposed strategies are to kind of broaden what we have done in the past, going up and down the income spectrum. So in the past, we always had this primary goal of achieving an the state housing inventory of 10% of our units, as counted by the state, that were eligible for this 80% area median income. And yeah, or AMI. Yeah. And so that's one income tier. And while we have had you know, zoning and things that have been able to be accessed by moderately affordable, and we do have units that are for very low income, there are very few of those. So what we're proposing to do is to drive more initiatives at the very low income level, as well as moderately affordable, and then what we call attainable housing. And attainable housing is different in that it's not restricted. It's not deed restricted. If it's, you know, sold, then it's not restricted as rents. But the nature of the housing, by being smaller scale units, maybe attached units and the like, make it less expensive than your typical large house, $2.5 million house being built on, you know, your typical subdivision lot today. And there are various zoning incentives that can drive that. So the idea is we already have made better progress at the low income level. We have achieved our 10% thanks to these 40Bs. We will for the foreseeable future. But now we can turn our attention to these other levels. So to do that, we need new affordable housing goals that take that into account. And the Affordable Housing Trust has made a start by setting a goal of 200 new restricted units over the next 5-year period, and you'll see that the goals incorporate that are in this paper. The second is to expand zoning and incentives, and especially at MCI and Kais Road if the Public Works moves to MCI. And then to seek additional funding sources, because some of this will cost money, not all of it. And there are areas to get money that we have not pursued very effectively in the past that we can pursue better in the future. Especially when we go to the very low income level, there's lots of grant programs. The final one is to gain townwide commitment. We need to get stakeholder consensus. That's why we're out here talking to all the boards and committees today. In the next couple weeks, I started the DI Commission last week, but CHDC is tomorrow morning and so on. If we can get this kind of consensus, then when the town staff and the consultants are making decisions at MCI Concord, they'll have clarity about, okay, we don't have a specific plan of like put them here, that's their job, but about what kind of housing we really want as a town that we need. So here is the proposed, sort of the straw proposal for the production targets at each of these different levels. You can see what the current number of units are, the number of additional units proposed, and then over a 5-year horizon, and then additional 5 years to a 10-year horizon for a grand total, as you see on the right. And as you can see, the total number of truly affordable units in town today is only about 405. In the state housing inventory, we get credit for about 700 and something, but actually many of them are thanks to their being part of another development that has affordable units. This is trying to say we want to get truly affordable up to the level of about 805. That would get us to the 10% level that the Housing Trust would really like us to be, a true 10% affordable, but across all these levels, not just the 80% level. And then attainable units, these are market rate but more affordable units. You'll see in the revised presentation today, because I got numbers from the Regional Housing Service Office after publication time on Friday, that there are around, I would say, 1,000, maybe 1,200 units in town that you could consider attainable. Most of them, they're condominiums or small houses. But we need more of that type of housing, and so setting a goal of 300 units for the first 5 years and 300 more the next, and you can see MCI Concord as being a site where that could be done, among other places. So again, leading to housing quantity generation. So this is sort of the concrete strategy. It's not a concrete plan. The housing production plan will get us a more concrete, fully developed plan. This is just trying to set out priorities that hopefully can gain some consensus and commitment to use these properties towards some housing purposes. One, I think, key point that has been made earlier tonight that I wanted to talk about is that what we call the impact on the budget of housing projects. So I think that the reputation of housing in general, and affordable housing in particular, is that it puts a burden on the town budget because you have students, and students cost a lot. But the marginal cost of a student when you have declining enrollment is actually much less than the sort of fully loaded cost, average cost of a student. It's about 35% of the total loaded cost, because facilities costs, the OPEB, lots of these other, buses, all of these infrastructural costs are more or less fixed. There are some variables, but as we saw in the last town meeting, it's less than you would hope when you have lower enrollment. So when you think about especially 1 and 2 bedroom condos, but even up until 3 bedroom condos, the impact, the budgetary impact is not negative. And if you have a mixed development with different unit sizes, it can be positive. And that's at the 150% attainable level. If you move to a more full market rate, 200% AMI, they become fully positive contributors. Now, we will, as part of the MCI Concord master plan process, have an economic analysis being done by the consultants. It'll be a professional analysis. But this is just, I wanted to try to dispel some sort of conventional wisdom, in particular in a case where we have reducing utilization of our schools, that housing is an opportunity, not a threat. So I'll leave it at that for this discussion.
Clarification, the net annual budget impact, What are those units? Is that per unit? And what
That's
is
per unit per year, and it's taking the revenue from, the incremental, the new growth revenue, because it's new growth, so it's incremental revenue, and then weighting that
Reducing it.
against the cost, the incremental cost of the new student.
Right. Okay.
Okay? So you have more houses that pay more taxes. You do have some more costs for more students, but they're fully offset by the new revenue.
Two questions about that, Matt. The first is, this takes into account, the analysis takes into account the marginal cost of a student.
Yes.
Which is one piece of our tax pie.
And then the number of students per unit by type.
Right. But there are also, as housing goes up in terms of total numbers, there are more cars on the road, there are more this, there are more that.
Sure.
It puts other demands on town services. So it's not just we're
It's
adding
not
marginal
just, but
services.
it's the biggest single element.
It is a big element. And because that's the argument you're making, I'd love to sit down with Sven and just go through the way he did that, because this is not.
I think everyone would like to understand this in more detail, just for the record.
Yeah.
Conceptually, I get it,
Yeah.
but the devil's in the detail, and I think some of us care a lot about numbers.
Right.
Eventually, we should get those numbers. It would be
I think
important
that the
for us to
main
get.
thing here is
Yep.
this is a 5-page paper.
Yeah, yeah.
So the main thing here is to get some new thinking
Right.
about the problem.
I think the idea that there is a marginal cost which is much less than if you just divide the number of students by a number, this is what
Yeah.
a student costs.
Right.
I think that that's on a good foundation, but, I'd just like to see how we get to this particular assertion, that's all.
Yeah.
So let me actually just go around and just ask each of the board members some additional opportunities for questions and comments, and Paul, I'll look at you next for
I'll have
feedback.
some, but I passed.
Okay, all right, Mary?
Come back to me later.
Matt, can we go back to slide 6, which
Sure.
is actually your proposed housing production targets?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, what I'm interested in is the additional units in the 5-year column, okay?
Yeah.
Because 5 years is, I think, is when we'll.
It's like almost right now.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right, and we're working on the master plan for MCI, so this, to me, is the important column. So I'm looking at, out of the 200 affordable, 119 of those are already done with the Novo and Thoreau residences, is that?
I think it's more like 117. I think
Okay.
that there are
25%.
two more that I hope we get at 80% level, but, it's, yeah.
You just threw in 2, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, but a big portion of that, 200 units, we're thinking 60% or 55% is already in, we have the building permits.
Right, and I think what I'm assuming is that at MCI, there's not going to be a huge number of affordable units. There are going to be probably more attainable units.
Okay, that's where I was going.
Yeah.
So now the 300 units, that's the big one, this is what you're hoping that we can get through MCI. The
And they can be market, they're just smaller,
Or-
right?
Yeah, and again,
I just
like,
want to be clear. Yep.
at the very low income level, there could be a dedicated project with, just all very low income units, or what we would prefer to see, and more in line with Concord's goals, would be a mixed income project of, let's say, 100 units that may be, Junction Village or some other site that would include those kinds of units.
Got it.
And Mary, I think you and I learned that there's a way to structure that so you can use low-income tax credits.
Exactly.
For the very low income.
At the 30.
And have market rate, and it's still the same project.
Yeah.
That's right, that's right. So to me, my feedback would be, I think this is perfectly reasonable goal.
So when I looked at this, I was looking at the targets too, and I was curious on, it's a very large, I looked at the 10-year.
Okay.
So the very low income, is this part of the housing authority growth, or it's what you talked about, Rich, which was these strategies of different offsetting grants and
Usually,
costs?
these projects would have a housing authority
Right,
operation.
Right.
Yeah, the very low income ones.
okay.
They might, although I think
They don't have to.
They don't have to.
in this financial and governmental environment,
Yeah.
I think it's more likely using tax credits to subsidize the very low-income units,
Yep.
and a private developer, and restrictions on the very low-income units.
And a private developer managing the units
Yeah,
as well.
correct.
Not just developing them, but managing them as well.
Okay, so,
So
yeah.
it might not be the Concord Housing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, we all remember Junction Village and how challenging it is to get those credits. So the trick is, maybe it's just some
Well-
role model on,
We took several tours over the last few months of different developments
Yeah.
that were done in Massachusetts. We went to one in Shrewsbury, we went to one in Hudson, and these were very successful, very professional housing development corporations, not local, but regional. So I don't think that the Christopher Heights is a good.
no, I don't think it is, but I just, it will be left in people's minds. How do you do this successfully? Because we haven't done it yet in Concord, right?
Right.
So
We
we need to
haven't.
work on that and understand those best
It could be
practices on
done.
how to do
We
it.
saw it.
Right. So Matt, the other question I had, because I think in the other goals from the trust, there was a recommendation around a certain restriction on some age-restricted housing. This doesn't really speak to that, but what does, is there something more to be said about that in your targets around age restriction?
It isn't, well, in the paper, there's a couple of sentences about
Yeah.
that. But
I'm
that's
just-
just
devil's in the
about
detail.
all there
Yeah.
is. That, of course, when it comes to the discussion that we had before about, student impacts, the
That comes
age restricted has the best results.
Of course, right.
But I assume most of that would be attainable housing. So it kind of falls into the attainable number.
Okay.
Well, the other thing is, if you look at the 10 years,
Yep.
within 10 years, we will have the money from Newbury Court as a partial town
That's fair.
subsidy. So if you can mix that with tax credits,
Yep.
and again, it may be a range of incomes below what we think of as the Newbury Court,
Yeah,
or
I
Carlton
hope so.
Willards of the world,
Right.
but including very low income.
Yeah, and you can
Yep.
see that we try to ramp up the moderately affordable level for the next 5-year
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
2229 Main Street will come on board, we hope.
Yeah, no, we hear a lot of that. People want to downsize, and
Yeah.
what's the housing? And to your point, it's the attainable because they're a little smaller, but they might still be market rate.
Yeah.
I think that was it. Cameron? Thoughts?
Just a couple of questions. So I know it's not apples to apples 100% with how the state counts the units, right? But if I look at affordable units going from 900 today to about 1,900, so that's a bit more than double.
You don't have
No,
900 affordable
We don't,
units.
yeah.
You only have 400 and something.
Well, I think he's using the previous draft of the paper, by the way.
Or
Yeah,
Oh,
405 going to
Yeah.
805, 905, so it's a
Yeah.
little more than double.
yeah.
So is it fair to kind of say, hey, we're, at 10% today on the state, we're trying to get, which is sort of the state recommendation, or the state, we're trying to get to over 20?
No. So,
I know it's not apples to apples.
no, it's
I know
not,
a little bit
not
different,
even
but-
slightly, because so what will happen is in this 5-year period with those additional 114 units, we'll get to 16%. And that's already, the table's already set for that.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the 16%. But then what's interesting is the rest of this plan won't get us any further on the state numbers beyond the 16%. But the answer is we don't need to get any further. We're done as far as the state, SHI 10% level. We, in fact, will probably reduce back down to 14 or 13 or something, but that's still well above what we'll ever hit. You would have to get 4,400 new market rate units before you would then go back to 10%. And I don't think Concord's going to have 4,400 more units.
To me, so thank you for that, to put that into a little bit more, a little bit more context, right? So, for me, more housing is something that I think we need. I'm a little bit less inclined to sort of try to put it, into every specific bucket and have it a little bit be more sort of based on what, looking at what our zoning allows, looking at what developers and sort of economic, sort of market is. So, and trying to avoid additional taxes in order to pay for it. 'Cause I understand the marginal analysis.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you're building houses for people who are paying about a third, half to a third of the amount of taxes as the current taxpayers are paying at some point, that.
Oh, well, the
that's
very
factored
low,
into the overall analysis of, sort of what the budgets are and what the tax burden is.
Yeah, the very low income definitely is not a contributor from a tax point of view.
Yeah.
But moderately affordable, again, it's really, 150% versus 250%. So it's 2/3 of 3/5, if you want, of the amount that you would get fully loaded.
Yep.
And I just want to say that there's something almost nostalgic about what we're trying to do here with these numbers, because there was a time 50 years ago when the small houses that we see going down now were affordable to people in the trades, young professionals, people like that. And we had low-income housing. The farmers used to house their own workers. We had a trailer park. Maybe we didn't like a trailer park, but it enabled people on low incomes to live here. We're trying to go back, if you will, to the kind of income spectrum that we had 50 or 75 years ago.
That a more holistic town, basically.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. That's what the community needs, right?
So can I ask a
Right.
question about the attainable set, which is not restricted in any
Right.
way? They're going to remain attainable just by their size?
Just by dint of being
small.
cheaper kind of houses, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to be less tear downable because, because that's been the problem with our attainable housing in the past, is it's been torn down and replaced
Right,
with
right.
expensive housing.
So deliberately building more small.
Brand new.
Yep. Paul,
We come around, okay, great.
well, you got your hand up. You want to talk, so let's go.
Well, no, I thought I was going around, and I passed, and so I'm
Oh,
not,
that's right, you did.
and I'm
Sorry,
grabbing the
yeah,
rein.
Go ahead. Pull on back, yeah.
I really like the focus on moderately, and I like the revenue generation part of this, since we are almost, beyond the SHI consideration. I'm a big fan of strategy, but I want to talk about tactics for the moment. It seems to me we need two things here. One is land, and the other one is density. Because and zoning's relate to density.
Yes.
Can the strategy proceed without the municipal consolidation effort releasing land? Or do we have so much land we don't have to worry about that strategy? Because you mentioned that, and I see that as important,
No,
strategically
it
connected.
does. So, of course, we're going to get, I think, a significant number of units at MCI and at Junction Village as part of MCI thing. But I think that to achieve this plan, that the best approach is to get a commitment from the town to having residential uses, at least in part, of some of these surplus sites that are named. So Ripley or Peabody or 2229 Main or
Kai's Road.
Kai's Road, if Public Works comes over. These all have great potential to provide residential uses, and if we are able to use zoning as a tool, then we can have more market rate production out of that. And just giving it one example, the state has this zoning they call 40Y.
I was going to ask you what that was.
So
I saw it. I didn't know what it
40Y
was.
is called starter home zoning. And what it does is it limits the house size to 1,875 square feet. And typically you have like 5,000 square foot lots. Well, we can't superimpose 5,000 square foot lots on existing built out sites. But if you have a site like Ripley, you could say, let's carve out the exterior of the site as recreation or open space, and then let's put a 40Y with 5,000 square foot lots and go to it, basically. And the state will actually provide grants to even help you come up with the 40Y proposal. And, the neighbors might like that, A, they got their residential dedicated land, and you get these smaller houses that are maybe clustered. It could be a win. And of course, we also have the planned residential development approach that we could do today. But both of them are viable options.
Yeah, because to me, that sounds like a PRD. So,
But there's different ones,
Yeah.
yeah.
so I think you've answered the density constraint, because we are going to have to think about it.
We're going to have to do it, but we need to be creative about how to still preserve open open sites, to be good neighbors to adjoining sites, but get our density where we need it.
What about the wastewater constraint outside of MCI, which is
Yeah, well,
wrapped up
let's
into-
hope we get that wastewater capacity.
It's not gonna-
let's hope
it's not
Let's
gonna-
get that.
Yeah, let's-
it's
Let's
not gonna
get
help you-
that.
It's not going to help you at Ripley where you need.
No, it's got to be septic, yeah. I mean, the thing is that
It'll help
with the
you keep it 'cause you have
40Y, and, you know, yeah, it may be possible with a PRD, there's certainly PRDs that have done, you know, their own wastewater treatment or septic, so
right.
it can be done.
We're starting to get a little
Yeah.
off topic.
We're starting to get really
And I'd like to
into
get us
tactics.
back on topic, to get you the feedback that you're looking for.
I thought that was on topic, because I'm asking,
You know, I
was asking, how do you implement this strategy?
Right, I got it,
Piece-
but-
I think, I wanted to say,
Yeah.
you know, we had to whip together a strategy.
Yeah.
And implementation, thankfully, MCI Concord has dedicated consultants who are going to do implementation there. So, and that's the most urgent.
Right.
As far as land consolidation, well, that's a continuing process. Sites will come up, maybe PWD even this month, or year. You know, the select board needs to be the implementer of those decisions, and I'm hoping if we can get consensus on the strategy, you guys,
Right, you're advocating for that,
I mean, yeah.
that
And I
approach.
just,
Yeah.
and I just mentioned, because we could say this is the greatest strategy, but we can't pull it off unless we actually
Let's step by
tackle
step,
some of these
right?
specific
You have to have
issues.
land, you have to have density.
Right.
Yeah.
but
There's
zoning
another
gets
way-
us density.
Is there a chance 40Y would be part of the MCI zoning package?
I doubt it, because I doubt if it's dense
I
enough.
don't think the state's, yeah.
I suspect we're going to want more dense housing there.
But could it be part of that package because it might help us with other land?
There could be like along Commonwealth going up towards, you know, on the street. You could turn that into a bunch of 5,000
Yeah,
square foot
I'm not
lots
saying
because it's
for-
not developed now. Where the
Let me be clear what I was asking for. Can the possibility of 40Y zoning be part of what we bring to the town in addition to the zoning we want specific to the MCI
it
site?
could, it could.
Because
I think it could.
Technically,
absolutely.
yeah.
So-
Decision as to.
So this is, you're talking about
It would probably be
If there was a
pulled in another.
additional
probably be a different
Exactly,
warrant
exactly,
article, but
exactly.
yeah, it
That's
could come
what
at
I'm
the same
definitely
meeting.
would be different.
because, okay, that's,
But I do think, I mean, I know we're going on this, I mean, I resonate a lot more with it. I mean, Paul, what you said, Mary, what you started to say, Matt, what you just said, because saying like it has to be this dollar amount or it has to be this affordability, yes, I mean, in one way, that's a thing, but the zoning and the
Yes.
size of the, you know, and the density really can drive, and even if that then becomes market-based, but it's market-based off
Yes.
different zoning
Yes.
and
Yeah.
different density.
exactly, yes.
Well, but these numbers take into account our
Yes.
All I'm saying
zoning.
is translating it back into what it
Yeah,
means in
but
terms
like-
of size of lots or zoning requirements is also, I think, something that we're going to have to do
Yes,
work on.
yes.
But we just passed mixed use, for example, which now drives some of these moderately affordable units as a result of any development of mixed use. So some of this is going to be organic based upon our existing zoning. PRDs, they have
Yep.
moderately affordable for density bonuses.
So Matt, I'm hearing some support for zoning. And I'm hearing support for density.
Yeah.
So you're getting some good positive feedback, I think, to date on your plan. Anything else, Paul?
Yeah,
You sure?
I'll take it.
Just checking.
I'm sure. I grabbed my rig, I took it.
I know. Thank you, appreciate it. All right, I think this has been a really good discussion. I don't think we're here today to endorse the full plan. I know you're making the rounds, and we'll have another discussion at the roundtable in a few weeks, so we look
Yeah,
forward to
what
more
we'd love to
discussion.
get is sort of a
Comments.
sense of the board, and I think
Yeah.
we've gotten a sense of the board,
Yeah.
and we will try to see.
If you have specific comments, you know, on.
We can send them on.
Mark it up.
Thank you.
Send us stuff.
Great,
Thank you.
no,
right,
great work,
Thank you very much.
really. All right. All right, I know that was a long conversation, but an important conversation.
We're
so.
not that far off schedule. You're
I
good.
know
You're
we're
doing
not.
fine.
Okay, we're doing okay.
Doing fine.
All right, so Carlin is joining us.
How are we doing on our timing?
Yeah, we're doing okay. We're
okay.
actually doing okay.
We're doing okay.
We're doing okay.
Okay.
Compared to other meetings,
We are.
All right, so Carlin's going to be joined by a friend. So Carlin, you're here today to talk everything annual town meeting, a recap of 2026 and what's upcoming. So you have a few items that you want to cover, and I'll let you do it in your order.
Thank you. Carlin Reed, 83 Woods End, Town Moderator, and I'm here with Eric Moore. who is our deputy town moderator, and I have no idea where you live. Where do you live, Eric?
45 Francis Street in West Concord.
Okay, all right, we got that settled. I have 4 items to cover today, and with the chair's permission, I'd like to talk about the draft 2027 annual town meeting first.
Sure.
The calendar, and then after that, touch briefly on the 2026 town meeting debrief, the pilot town meeting participation, remote participation for those with disabilities, and an update on the remote participation legislation. Is that okay?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's turn to the draft calendar that is part of the meeting packet. I don't know if you want to show that on the screen. I'm assuming the board members have it, and it's publicly available. There are 2 things that I want to touch on briefly. First, I want to thank all the town departments, staff, committee chairs, department, everybody who I contacted in trying to create this calendar, because it involved a lot of shuffling around. What I'm proposing, just as an overall, is basically shifting our town meeting schedule by 3 weeks later. That has some benefits, one of which is we have more time to look at our budgets. We have more time to recover from the April vacation and from Patriots' Day planning. And it seemed from my conversations that it seemed to be an overall good idea to switch it. Also checked with the schools. The resources are available. We can't go much beyond May 17, 18, and 19 for town meeting, but those are the 3 dates that I'm proposing that we set aside at this point. Now, briefly, with the schedule that we have in the calendar, it's now up on the screen as well. Thank you very much, Kristen. Appreciate that. Or Megan, whoever's doing that. Thank you for doing that. There are 2 areas that I want to touch base on because they're possible modifications to what's posted. One of which is scheduling a time for a town meeting preview meeting, where we get a preview just before the warrant opens up of what's going to be on the warrant. And the other is a possible change to the tri-board capital planning forum of the Select Board, Finance Committee, School Committee, which currently is set at December 21 of 26, moving that to January 18. Now, let me step back for just a moment. This is my recommendation. It's you folks on the Select Board who actually make the decision, so it's your call. And if you want to consider it and vote tonight, that's great. If you want to postpone it to your next meeting, that's great. But I strongly recommend that you don't wait beyond the end of June to make your decision on this, because our town staff has to reserve the vendors, and the sooner they can get on the vendor list, the sooner we're going to get the vendors we want at the price that we want. Okay? Okay, so I'm not going to go through each one of those schedules, but briefly, we've got planning the public hearing scheduled. We have the time when the warrant has to be published, when it's going to be mailed out to the households. We have the actual annual town meeting dates of May 17, 18, and 19, and it's working with the holidays. The 2 items that I'm going to recommend that we consider is, one, recommend that the Select Board hold a town meeting preview meeting on January 16, which is the Saturday before the warrant opens. Now, the warrant is scheduled to open Tuesday, January 19, so this would be the Saturday beforehand. We had town preview meetings in 2023 and 2024 most recently. We didn't do it in 25 or 26 because of the 250th celebration, but we're back at a time when we can do it if you folks want to get that look of the highlights from the Finance Committee on what the guidelines are and the overall financial picture of the town. The preliminary initial budget presentations by the school committee and by the town manager's office, as well as all the usual, what I call as the usual suspects, the usual people who will present warrant articles, including the planning board, and an opportunity for anyone who has a citizen petition to come up and make the discussion of, here's my idea, here's what I want to discuss about. Okay, that's the first thing. And the second thing, again, is suggesting that we move the tri-board capital planning meeting from December 21 to January 18 to work with the Finance Committee's approach on their development on status of the debt rescission and debt policies that we have. Okay, that's kind of, I'm going to stop there for now and get some feedback and see how we feel.
So let's start with the first one, the preview meeting. It's not on the schedule now, so if everyone's looking for it, it's not there, but you're proposing it for January 16. Now, in the past, I know we've held these, and then sometimes they weren't very well attended. I know we wanted citizen petitioners to come. They very rarely come. Sometimes it felt like it might be redundant to do a preliminary operating budget presentation. January 16th at this point, I'm just trying to figure out, will we have just gone, that schools and the town manager will probably have their, I don't know if they'd be approved. I guess what I was trying to get to is there probably have been some discussions already about those operating budgets by January 16th. So I'm just trying to figure out, is this redundant? What's new? What's different? Like what's the value of that meeting? And I'm not challenging it. I'm just trying to think through the logistics
I
of.
think it's also a long weekend, isn't it?
Well, it could be. I don't know.
You also need to consider who actually pays attention to this. This preview meeting,
Yep.
the one was done 2023, 24, they were recorded.
Yep.
They were posted. And of the 2023 meeting, I just watched it again today, there were 74 views of that. Plus, because it's recorded,
Yep.
it can be covered by the bridge. It can be distributed. Information can be gone far broader than just the number of people who actually show up at that particular time. So think about it, the audience, people who actually participate, people who watch it later, and people who use it as a reference. I would think it's useful, but again, it's...
Yeah, I guess the other thing I would just say, having been on the Finance Committee, it's a very good opportunity for the Finance Committee to give a 10-minute presentation on finances.
Oh, I think that's
what
great.
I remember being very valuable as well. So
And I've
you're sort of
actually
setting
talked
the
to our
stage.
Finance Committee chair, who's here, Don Cook, about having this preview meeting, and he's told me that he's willing to let me say that he supports the concept of it. And Don, if you have any other ideas, let me know. But
What are the board's thoughts on a preview meeting?
Well, I've never experienced a preview meeting. If it's a true preview,
oh yeah, it is.
it's before the warrant opens. Do we really know what's in the preview and what isn't? None of the citizens' petitions might be known by that. Is everything known at that point?
Well, if you look at the 2023 meeting that was held on December 5 of that year, it was a presentation by the school it was their initial budget presentation for CPS, and for the regional school district as well. The Finance Committee gave information about their guidelines. So you get the financial picture before before the warrant opens, which sets the stage for what you can do afterwards. Otherwise, you get the information probably not before the public hearings in March.
So it's mainly the financial picture.
Well, that's the big piece.
Yeah, it's preliminary.
That's a big part of our budget.
Yeah.
And the planning piece, the zoning pieces? would
Well,
it be?
by that time, if we have the preview meeting in January, and I think the land use planning group is planning to have a bylaw of some sort ready in October, November. Planning board will have something ready to go, and in 3 days, they have to have, 3 days later, the warrant will open. I think the timing may work.
I imagine there going to be some heavy-duty zoning issues coming up next town meeting.
We sure do.
Yeah, there'll be
I'm
separate meetings.
guessing.
Yeah, I think there'll be a couple. Just a couple.
Those would be of great interest if they're ready at that
Right.
point.
It's true. It's true.
So, question about how long was the one in 23? How long did it last?
It's usually,
I think an hour and a half.
I was
It starts
an
at
hour and a half.
9
yeah,
o'clock
it
in
was
the
like
morning.
9 to 11 or something.
Articles or something on our...
We had 50 articles, of which 21 actually were put on the consent calendar, 4 were not moved, so we actually considered 25 of them, about half of them, which is about the same thing as what we did last year as well.
Right.
It's
So
not
I'm
all
saying in
the
an hour and a half, we're going to go through what amounts to, a preview of a full warrant. That would be quite a lot of...
My recall of these preview meetings is it was not the full warrant
No,
at
it
all.
isn't.
It was the main budget entities. It was the finance
Very
presentation. And if there was a citizen petition, they might want to talk about it. It's also an opportunity for people to come and ask, I'm thinking of doing this.
Okay.
So they can get feedback.
And so I can stand up at the microphone and say, okay, you need to talk to planning department, you need to talk to recreation department, and guide them on how to make their citizen petition optimal.
Yep.
Other questions?
Do we want to think about this a little bit, this particular?
I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other.
I mean, I'm
Okay.
fine with that. I just,
Check the long weekend.
yeah, I just. Be there, that's all.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's important, yeah. Okay, and then I know on the second item about the Tri-Board Capital Planning Forum, I know I actually outreached to Carlin this morning because December 10th to the proposed 21st wasn't a lot of time, and it was almost like the 21st is, the December 10th is when the town manager and usually the superintendent are presenting their capital plans to the Finance Committee. And so my question is, well, what happens in 8 days? Not much, but there may be some more feedback being provided by the Finance Committee this year on those capital plans. So I was recommending pushing this out to January 18th.
That sounds good.
To give some more time. And if there is a need to revise it, then there's an ample time to do that because it's the holidays. And we could do it on January 4th, but I doubt that's the first thing that we want to do coming back right after the holidays. So I think the 18th still works from a timeline perspective for that.
And that's fine from my perspective.
January 18th.
18th is the holiday.
Oh, is it? Oh. So we have a meeting, oh, okay, I was thinking 2 weeks.
Yeah, it
The
is.
Select Board's calendar isn't done. I know we have a January 4th meeting.
Yeah, but on the
so-
bottom,
Yeah.
yeah, it is a holiday.
Yes,
Yeah.
Martin Luther King.
I
Carrie's
hadn't
right.
even thought it. So maybe would the Select Board be open to meeting, skipping that, having a meeting on the 11th? That would be 2 meetings in a row, almost.
Or the 25th or the 19th?
Yeah, the 25th just gets a little bit later, I think, because then you're after the warrant opens.
Sure.
The 11th?
Yeah.
The 11th? Okay,
That's fine.
3 weeks to the next one or something.
the 11th, yeah. Okay, January 11th. So I think we have consensus on January 11th for the Tri-Board one. And for now, you want to put the January 16th preview meeting in? We'll give it a shot, see how it goes. I think we have to advertise it, make sure the right people are there, and we get just...
Yeah.
Again, but you know what? It is the long weekend, because if the 18th is a long weekend, the 16th is that Saturday. So it may not be well attended. It's a long weekend.
The 9th, which is the previous Saturday.
That would be fine for my schedule. And I say by my schedule, I'm trying to think of all the people I've talked to, who else is going to be impacted by that
Right.
particular one.
Yeah.
Sure.
Would you prefer to do it on the 9th of January?
The 9th, yeah, definitely over the holiday, yeah.
Okay.
Long weekend, so.
Good.
That's a Saturday?
It's a Saturday, yeah.
Saturday morning.
It's always Saturday.
Who's the main customer for the preview meeting? Is the public?
All the budget entities, the finance.
It also encourages the town committees and the departments to get their presentations ready in time
Well-
to submit to the warrants. That's part of it. But it's, the presentation is for everyone who can come to
So-
town meeting or...
Carly, can I actually just challenge you a little bit about
Yeah.
that? My recall in these, and again, I'm dating myself as a finance committee person, sometimes these were not, the finance committee made a presentation, sometimes it was just the budget entities speaking to what they thought they were going to propose. So I'm looking for an operating budget of 5%, making it up. So people didn't always come with full presentations. It was more of a discussion and identification of what they're looking to do. That's my recall, but like I said,
Take a look at the 2023 meeting. It was pretty...
Oh, yeah, no, the
It was
23,
really
yeah,
good.
maybe.
Really good start.
I just,
It was the timing. We used to do these at the beginning of
yeah, it's December, right?
From the town's perspective, in the good years, we closed out our budget by December 31st.
Yeah.
So the beginning of December, a lot of times, we were still in the thick of it.
That's fair, yeah.
So by delaying town meeting to May 17, 18, 19, it gives the town manager's office some more time to get the budget ready. Same with the schools.
So I guess I'm just being a little cautious
No,
about
that's fine,
the
that's fine, that's
formality of the presentation on that day.
Okay.
That's all. I mean, I think it's still worth pursuing it, and then we
Okay.
can talk in more detail about what's presented and how. And
So am I sensing that we're okay with the January 9 for the preview meeting and January 11 for the tri-board capital planning?
yes, that's what I'm hearing. I'm not hearing any objections. Sounds good.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Now, do you need to vote on the
We need a
calendar?
vote. If we're ready to vote? I have looked at the calendar. I thought it looked reasonable. I didn't see anything that was too close together, and we did a good job with it.
So I'd make a motion to approve the annual town meeting schedule as printed with the following exceptions. Number one, we would be moving the Tri-Board Capital Planning Forum from December 21st to January 11th. And number two is we will be inserting a town meeting warrant preview meeting on Saturday, January 9th, 2027.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all
There you
very
go.
much. Appreciate that.
Thank you for the discussion, Carla. It's good. All right, but you're
Okay,
not
that's the
done.
town calendar. We can now plan our lives for the next 12 months, which is nice.
You can.
I've already made that plan.
Yeah.
Everyone else gets to be involved.
You can
in
plan
that.
our lives.
Thank you. I like that. Okay, let's turn to the other three items that are covered in the memo that's contained in the packet.
Yep.
And this covers what happened briefly in the 2026 annual town meeting, as well as some information regarding some observations from the survey that was done, also some observations from the ADA self-evaluation survey that touched on town meeting, along with a brief update on the remote participation legislation and what's been characterized as a pilot for the ADA compliance with remote participation. I'm not going to go through every single one of these things here, just a couple quick highlights. As mentioned earlier today, we had 726 unique attendees, at least one person attended at least one meeting every night. The cost for the town meeting was more than I expected to find out. It was roughly $86,000 for annual town meeting. From the survey that was done after the town meeting, we received 118 responses. A little more than half of them were by online, and I found out that the online comments were much more extensive than the ones that were done in the hard copy comments. So that was fun reviewing those. One thing that we have noticed also, we received two requests from two towns to borrow some of our clickers for use in town meetings. So one of them, Marblehead, decided not to because there was an incompatibility issue. But Sudbury did, and they borrowed 300 of our clickers for a very contentious special town meeting that they held. And I understand that we haven't gotten the clickers back, but we're in the process of getting them back and developing a more formal loan policy on the use of our clickers for town meeting. Let's see. There was a question that came up at the 2026 annual town meeting about how much it cost us to go to a third night. And we have an estimate of between $15,000 and $20,000 for going that third night. Now, this plays into, well, should we have stopped the meeting at 9:15 in the evening and taken up the rest of the articles the next day, or if we should push through, or what to do. But there is a cost-benefit analysis that goes into considering how long town meeting needs to run. One of the comments that we received, well, several comments, was considering ending the night sessions at 10 o'clock, which is a different approach from what we've done in the past. In the past, we've done, don't take up any more new business after 9:30. There's some things to be discussed, and that'll be a decision that we'll have, a conversation we'll have later on. There were some other comments dealing with the use of the pro and con microphone, the temperature of the building. There were some comments regarding remote participation, because I'd asked questions about, would you be more likely to participate if you could do it remotely somehow? And then I also included in this memo a chart of the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different bills or acts or budget amendments that have discussed recent remote participation level. On that particular topic, the three that are still relatively viable, one, of course, is Concord's home rule petition, which has been referred to the Committee on Bills, and it's in its third reading at this point.
That's good.
I'm monitoring that with our state representatives as well. And then the two that are in the Senate are two bills, SD 3114 and Senate 2197, which deal with statewide remote participation. Those are still in, they've been referred to various committees, and we're watching the status on those as well. And the last thing I have is I'm working with the Disabilities Commission and our ADA coordinator to come up with parameters on using remote participation efforts as an ADA special accommodation. And then also be working with the town clerk's office and the IT department to make sure that it is technologically feasible and see what the easiest way is to have it. So far, it looks like there's some ways to do it using a Zoom feature, which I think most folks can understand and are going to participate in. But we have to figure out who's eligible, who's entitled to use that service. That's my quick overview.
So, Colin, I had one question I just didn't know what it was. What's a study order? Some of the legislation was accompanied a study order. I just didn't know what that was.
Sending a bill to study.
Oh, is that all? Okay.
Yeah.
Could say it differently.
It's
okay.
just
All
going to
right.
be looked at.
You just like, bye-bye, it's in the shade. Okay. Kick in the, yeah, right, okay.
I say that with a smile.
Yeah,
It can
okay.
also always be reintroduced in the next legislative session.
And then did anybody, the other question I had was around special interest articles. So, it comes up to do you shut it off? Or was there feedback on that? Because we didn't have any special interest articles.
No, we didn't have any this time. But at the town preview meeting, which we've now scheduled for January 9, that is a time when I'll be able to figure out whether or not we're likely to have a special interest articles and how to schedule them. So that'll be a time when we can give an idea of what's going to be talked about at that point.
It seems like the public hearings are when Carmen used to.
That's when the decision's made, but
yeah.
I can already say, we've already talked about MCI zoning bylaws,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that may be one of those that will be
I see.
discussed.
So that's the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry, Mary. You.
That's okay, I have a quick question. So as far as making remote participation available for people who have mobility or vision, are they going to self-identify?
Well, I'm looking at my ADA coordinator here, who happens to be in the room, and that is a discussion I'm going to have. That's just Porter. That's a discussion we're going to have with the Disabilities Commission. They're going to be talking about it at their June 9
I'll be there.
meeting, briefly. You'll be there?
I'll be there.
And then I won't be there.
I'll wait.
But I'll be there at the next meeting after that. So we'll talk about how that qualifies and who's eligible for it.
Exactly.
Because there's a whole range of folks, whether a person who has disabilities, a person who's the parent of a disabled child who can't come, a person whose wife is disabled, but the husband is not and can't come because they can't, they have to come together. A lot of things to be considered within what's legally allowed under the ADA.
And there are some towns, Carlin, that have done it, right?
Oh, yes.
Remote participation, so you're not starting from
Wilmington is doing it. They have a set policy. North Andover has done it. Carlisle has done it in different fashions.
Yep. So a lot of lessons learned. Sorry.
Can you go back to the term special interest articles?
Sure.
How are those, are they also especially contentious articles, or is that the same thing?
Well, in the past, it's
And
been high interest.
High
interest
articles. How are those detected early on?
As Wendy has correctly noted, we'll get a sense of what it is just before the warrant opens, based on this preview meeting. We'll make the decision, we meaning I, will make the decision after the hearings close, because that's when we have a time for public input and such. And then what I will recommend as far as scheduling, and the scheduling is your decision of when articles are done, because you'll actually order the articles. That will depend on how many people comment, and what kind of, how you feel about the articles and such. So there's no inherent predetermination, but we'll see what happens.
Do you think the issue we had with the cell tower zoning article was that it was sort of a one-off function of timing and
well, let's see. We had 4 articles in the bridge, successive weeks on that one particular topic. I suspect that might be on my radar, but I'm not going to commit to that until I actually see if something like that actually shows up.
I'm just wondering why we didn't detect that beforehand. Because we just went from 1 to 50 straight on without.
There are many possible reasons, but I was not town moderator at that time, so I did not have control over what happened.
That's a no comment if I've ever seen it.
With a big smile, of course.
Thank you.
All right. Other feedback, questions for Carlin? No. Anyone online? I see no hands raised. Anyone in the room?
Okay.
No? Yes, question. You have to come up to the mic, unfortunately. Yep. Yes.
We don't have a lot of mics.
Yeah, I know. We'll share. Yeah. Oh. All right, yeah.
Hello, my name's Al Swiston, 74 Park Lane. But most importantly, I am father of a young family, as we were just discussing. I never thought of us as such a critical part of your tax base.
You are.
So, town meeting. I think it's wonderful to hear about the exploration of the remote participation. I was curious if there were other options that have been considered as sort of the outputs of the 2024 Town Meeting Study Committee for how to increase participation. I can attest to at least a half dozen people that would have loved to vote on that cell phone tower warrant article, but that could not make it to a 10:41 p.m. vote. I'm sure there's far more than that in the town. So I'm curious, I know the number one item on the Town Meeting Study Committee was remote participation, but I'd love to hear about some of the alternate options that have been explored.
Luckily, we have the person who
Chair
chaired that
of that
committee
committee right
over
next
here.
to us. Yeah.
He's the man.
Eric,
Yeah, hi, Al. Can you guys hear me okay on the mic? Yeah.
So, yes.
So my name's Eric Moore. Nice to meet you. I was the chair of that Town Meeting Study Committee. Thank you for your letter to the bridge. Thank you for your involvement. I think, as you said, the biggest thing is remote participation. I mean, we did make some small adjustments, right? The town meeting did start earlier. We tried to sort of make recommendations that would make the actual operation and process of the meeting more efficient. I think the thing that you raised in your letter, which is, hey, why can't we have a discussion night and a voting night? I think, yeah, I get that. I get that. That particular one's a real challenge because what it does is it separates debate from decision. And I think the fundamental concept, and I hope I don't sound condescending, all right? I had to learn this stuff. But the fundamental thing is that the town meeting is a legislature and not an election. And so by design, the legislature does combine debate and decision. And I think one could argue that by separating debate from decision, in a way we deprive all who participate the opportunity for speech. I think that the fundamental point of a legislature in a democracy is that we get to hear each other's speech. And so it's like it's slow by design, right? And I think, we didn't find a way to fundamentally change the dynamics of town meeting to make it really, really short, for example. And my judgment, based upon my experience as chair, is that some of the things that we could do to really make town meeting better happen before town meeting. I think, the awareness of more citizen participation in meetings like this. Really, in principle, any meeting that citizens come to speak, they should be heard. That are ways that we can improve the awareness of what's going to happen in a meeting. We have a schedule for agendas now that, we were changing agendas up to the minute, to the 48-hour minute, because planning is very dynamic. But I think as a citizen, if you're interested in zoning issues, if you know that in the coming month they're going to be looking at this and this and this, you have a chance to plan your time to participate. So things that we do, we have a lot on the website, and so it's easy to find. If you know it's there, it's easy to access. If you don't know it's there, you don't know it's there. We have a really solid, sorry to talk at length. We have a newsletter from the school superintendent. If you know about it, you get to read it every week. We have another one from the town manager. If you know about that, we get to read it every week. We have a podcast from a deputy town manager. So the material's there. One thing that we don't have is, I'll say, a consolidated feed of the board and committee activity. So there's a really awesome monthly chairs breakfast that the different committees in town meet to talk about what they're doing. It's a really great cross-functional meeting. Nobody knows about it.
Okay. I think
Yeah.
that pretty much answers the question.
But it's a good point.
So, yeah. So there are opportunities there, and I think there's a will, I'll conclude, there's a will to invest, but it takes some vision, and it's hard not to it's easy not to prioritize it.
Okay.
So thank you for your interest.
One other thing I failed to mention is part of the legislative efforts that are going on. Right now, the town of Wayland and it has posted on its website a demonstration of how a remote participation system would work. And at the most recent state Democratic convention, the Wayland town moderator and some advocates and some folks from Concord as well handed out a flyer, and I've got copies of this flyer that has a QR link and links to the demo, which I'll hand out to the select board if they're interested to see what this is.
Yeah.
I'll pass them.
Yeah, Carlin, if you could send it electronically too, we'll make sure it's available.
I'll be sure to do that.
Electronically would be great.
That's more information about what it would do. It is a way of doing it. I'm not sure if it would work exactly for Concord,
Yep.
but it is an example of what could be done for remote participation on a much larger scale.
Okay,
Great.
I have a slight variation on the remote. So we've never talked about remote nodes. So we have a remote node, 2 in the high school, right? 2 places. We have other buildings in town. Could we make those remote? We have a middle school, we have Harvey Wheeler. I know there are technical issues and expense issues, but is that an easier thing in our control than at-home remote voting if we just spread out more in town so people can kind of get to the meeting quickly?
If you want to consider that, I'd also like you to consider raising my budget. Because realistically, in 2023, my predecessor,
I know there are issues related.
my predecessor looked at the expense of having another location at Harvey Wheeler, and it was more than what she was willing to do. I haven't actually priced it out to Harvey Wheeler or to some other location like the middle school, something else at a satellite. It's probably possible, but it's a budget issue as well.
Okay, so it's feasible, but the budgetary constraints. Not surprised, but.
But it's a staffing issue as well. When you think of the number of staff that are at town meeting, we could reduce somewhat, but we would be spread out across town, police department, fire department.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, I did hear that when the study was going on, are there different locations we could use? And people were interested in a different location, West Concord, versus driving all the way over to this side of town. I've heard that before.
Yeah, that's true. Any other questions about?
No, oh, sorry. Okay, so we do have a couple hands up remotely, so I'd like to go to those. Diane Proctor. Diane?
Thank you very much. I've got it now. Thank you very much, Diane Proctor, 57 Sudbury Road, for this very thoughtful conversation. I thought I would just share with you all that at a town government committee meeting of the League of Women Voters, there were lots of people on that call who are rather elderly. They live at Newbury Court, and they stayed until 11:41 to vote that night. But they said it was really hard on older people to be up and out that late. And so when you're considering the cost-benefit analysis, I think there's another group to take into consideration besides attracting young voters and young families, but to consider also the burden on people who are older in town, for whom this may be a surprising burden. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Diane. And I thought I saw Tracy Morano.
Yes, hi, Tracy Morano, 39 Partridge Lane, Chair of the Regional School Committee. I tried to raise my hand when you were talking about the calendar. So that Saturday, January 9th preview meeting, then the 11th tri-board meeting, school committee also has a meeting on January 13th. So it's 3 meetings in 1 week for our professionals, and we do have a lot of working people on our school committee, so I just wanted to raise that as an issue, because I don't think that I heard that the date of the 9th or the 11th until the discussion.
Fair. I don't think you did hear it.
So I might ask if maybe you could reconsider while I check with the school committee. It feels like it was a little bit rushed on the dates. Thanks.
So, Tracy, can you just repeat, what were those conflicts? You said you had 4 meetings in a row. Can you just repeat those?
3. So if you do the Saturday meeting on January 9th that you voted on as the preview meeting, and then the 11th, I heard you moved the tri-board meeting to the 11th, and then we have a school committee meeting on the 13th.
Okay.
So that's 9, 11, and 13.
Yep, that's it, I didn't get the dates.
Well, how do you folks feel about that?
9th is Saturday, 11th. Well, we're meeting on the 11th anyways. I mean, it's more, it's the school committee that's impacted because it's the tri-board. No, the tri-board is the capital one, so let's just keep them separate. There's the preview meeting, which we were debating whether we should have it at all, but the 11th was also the capital one, which we didn't want to do the weekend after because that's a long weekend, that never will work.
Right.
We don't want to do it on the 4th because that's the day everyone's coming back. So if we're going to do it, I think we have to probably do it on the 11th. Or you go back to the 25th, and then there's only,
Yeah.
or the 25th.
I don't know if that's true.
And that's after the warrant. So I don't know if that makes, well, after the warrant opens.
Why not the 4th?
Well, we could do January 4th. It's just right after, I mean, everyone's coming back. I don't,
Well, you got to come back someday.
no, I just, if it works for me. I'm just sensitive to
Yeah,
a lot
it
of other
works.
people coming back, that some people are on vacation, some people, I'm just,
Yep, no, I understand. I'm okay with it, but I don't know how.
It's the first day back into school, so
I know, I think that's hard for,
Are you saying that's good or
I
bad?
think that's good. I mean, everybody's back.
Everybody's back?
So the 4th, not for the preview, the 4th would be the tri-board. So Tracy, what do you think about doing
Yes.
Monday, January 4th for the tri-board? We haven't even asked the staff yet.
I know, I think Monday, honestly, it's better from a staffing perspective than a Saturday
No,
to ask
this is for the
staff to come in.
tri-board. This is an
Oh, the
evening
tri-board?
tri-board
Oh, this is the
meeting.
tri-board?
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Again, I can't speak for the committee or
Yeah.
anyone on the school side. I just didn't expect that these were dates that were going to be floated until tonight.
I mean, it seems to me like the 4th might be better for the tri-board.
It's up to you.
But it also sounds like the school, right.
Get back to it.
So that means that we're not approving the calendar at this point. We voted.
We are
but-
unless they come back and we have to change it. We've already approved it.
Right,
We already
so-
voted it, so if they want to change it, we can consider that.
So we're going to wait for Tracy's feedback from the school committee?
We'll leave it where it
Okay,
is.
we'll leave it where it is and then wait, and if we have
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And then Tracy, you're meeting this week, right? So. we
Yes,
could
we're
get
meeting
some
on
feedback.
Wednesday, so I just wanted an opportunity to run it by people.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just because
Yeah.
they would not have seen this change.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
So Wendy, where are we leaving it now?
Well, right now, it's technically approved. We're going to wait for Tracy's feedback.
And if she has some issues about it, will this be brought at your next meeting?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I would have to be.
I'll be available.
Which means January
And that's June 22nd for your next
Yes.
meeting? I'll be available, just in case.
No, June 22nd.
June 22nd, just in case.
22nd. Did I say January?
So we're going to stick with the January 9. So we're sticking with the January 9 preview meeting, January 11 tri-board.
Yep.
If something happens with school committee, they can't, and that's too close for having their meeting on 13th, you'll let me know, and otherwise we're going to stick with this calendar,
Okay.
right? Right, okay.
Let's wait to hear back.
Good.
All right.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's all that I had, unless there's something else.
Okay, let's move on. I know, now we have lost time, which we would
We
have
have lost a
expected
lot
to.
of time,
I know, okay. So we're moving on, and I think, Carrie, are you presenting the next article on, this is on Minuteman Regional Vocational Technical?
No, we still have this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed right over the. Okay. Just skip the town meeting. No. This is a follow-up, so.
Like action item follow-ups?
These are discussion items. So these are the three articles that the select board should be taking some action on as a result of town meeting, right? So, apologize for that. So Article 30, we obviously passed Dean's article, the solar rooftop policy. So the action here is to actually formally create
We have to create a
APP policy.
Create a policy.
No, right, we have to create the
Town meeting
policy.
recommended a
Recommended.
specific
Right.
language, but we have the right
We have
to change that.
Yeah.
Right. And so to do that, what we would like to do, I can't imagine, I have the perfect person in mind to take the lead on putting that policy together.
Surprisingly, that's probably going to come back a lot like what town meeting
It
saw.
is. And guess what? I think Megan might even have a copy of it already. So Dean, would you be willing to work with Megan and put forth
Yes.
a draft policy?
Yes.
We may actually already have one. Yeah.
It could be an easy task for us.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it would be,
We just
right.
have to go through, here's a draft, and
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Pull it
right.
up. Right. Okay, so the second one, as you recall, we had Article 31, the Revolutionary War Monument article was withdrawn by the 250th Corporation. And the intent there was that there would be a follow-up discussion, and the 250th Committee was looking for a collaborative effort to consider moving a Revolutionary Memorial forward. And the ask was to make sure that we could put together a timely process, identify a source of funding, and do it within a reasonable time frame. And the reasonable time frame was within 18 months. Now, I'll also just note, leading up to town meeting, we also had from the 250th a permanent memorial subcommittee that had done a lot of work, but there was no consensus on the proposal coming out of that committee necessarily. Or there was a proposal, but it didn't move forward. And, you know,
There
although-
was a proposal.
There was a
It went
proposal.
to the executive committee.
Right, but in the final report,
Yeah.
it didn't say, put this forth. It said, we have consensus on doing some landscaping on that property.
Okay.
And they sort of,
Okay.
so we did not really have consensus on a particular proposal. There was one at a time, but the executive committee didn't put it forth.
Okay.
I'll also just note that, you know, over the last several months, we've had a lot of other discussions around historical markers and trails in the center, and there's some question about how are we going to sort of balance the different interests that we have in town, in our area. And so I'm sort of struggling with what to do as a next step, but I actually was thinking that it might be helpful to create sort of a cross-committee work group to help advise the select board on how we balance all of these different interests. And I would assume that we might have some representation from the Historic Commission, from the HDC, DEI, 250th Executive Committee, or whomever. So I just wanted to, and also the sort of Black Heritage Marker group that's there. So I wanted to just put this out here and get the committee's sort of feedback on that kind of an approach as sort of a next step, just to give us a little more insight and representation from the community.
Were you thinking, Wendy, of restricting the charge of that potential task force to just what to do on that particular parcel, or were you broadening it more to?
No, I'm thinking, so what, help us understand what this community really wants, right? And balance all these different ideas that have been here.
So you want
Not
broad-
just the memorial, but
Okay.
also, you know, we took down the tricentennial markers. And so, you know, do we need to find some balance of the things that need to be in the center? And, you know, obviously the war memorial also.
You know,
as well.
we had talked, and we've gotten some feedback from the community on establishing a separate committee on the Revolutionary Monument. But I like the idea of broadening this because it is part of a larger topic, as you say. And I think we need some thought behind all of that. I don't want to delay anything in particular, but,
Yeah.
well, you know, the black markers are coming up.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, beyond that, other historical markers, the ones we've removed, or we may want to honor other people, I think that deserves a broader community
Yeah.
discussion,
That's sort of what I'm
which isn't time limited. It's going to take some time to work through that. So I'm in favor of a broader discussion as long as we can kind of charge that correctly.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm slightly concerned about this broadening.
Me too.
Because of the failure of the 250 attempt to do something significant that would, you know, honor a number of different narratives,
Right.
and we never really arrived at an answer there. So I feel like we're just kind of going around in a spiral in some sense here. I'm a little
But some of
concerned
that
about it.
discussion was, you know, what voices do we want to portray in that memorial? If we can portray those same voices, not ju- other ways, if we can just make sure those voices are portrayed, doesn't have to be in the memorial, could be portrayed other. So we have more of a a landscape, cultural landscape to deal with it.
Yep.
Physical and cultural to deal with.
I'm hesitant to broaden it because I think broaden it makes it, it's already a very abstract thing and it makes it even more abstract. Whereas if we focus it on what do we want to do with a specific piece of land, a lot of these same issues are going to get discussed, and the priorities will come out based on what we decide. I worry also that broadening just delays things, and I feel like the community wants some direction from the select board sooner rather than later. So yeah, I don't know. Broadening feels to me to make it. It feels like it's a delaying tactic.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It really, I mean, if it really is, because, you know, there are a lot of things out there, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And to your point, we've talked about them, and sometimes it's I mean, just to be honest, sometimes I feel like it's a can't, you know, but what about this, but what about that, like you can't win kind of thing.
Yep.
So that's hard. At the same time, we can't ignore some of the things that are, you know, it's sort of like if we just do this one thing and we don't do it in conjunction with how it all kind of fits, it also makes it feel like, oh my gosh, we're missing some pieces. So
What pieces would we miss? If we focused on the plot over there, what are we missing?
Well, so again, you're saying we focused on the plot over there, so
Yeah.
this is like a focus on one piece of land that is
That's right.
different from let's focus on a Revolutionary War monument, which is different from let's address signage in town and how we're dealing with signs. That's all I'm saying. So that I'm just saying there are different. When somebody says, "Hey, let's focus on a thing," a lot of people would have different ideas of what to focus on.
Okay.
I guess that's more sort of my
Let's remove,
just dialogue on it, because I don't have I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
Mary, let's remove the land from part of it. Let's talk about the concept. The land is part of that, I know. Whenever there's a decision to do something, there's always a comment, well, what about this? You're considering that, well, what about this issue? And we're always going to face that, whether it's the historical markers, the Black history markers, or the Revolution, you know. We're always going to be faced with, well, okay, you decide on that, but what about I hate the term whataboutism because it's but there are questions, you know, if you should consider the holistic landscape of what do we want the community to honor.
I don't think we can decouple the Revolutionary War monument from the piece of land because they go together, right?
They will go together.
So those two are already tightly together. It's what do we do with that piece of land? Does it include a Revolutionary War? What does that look like? What else might we put there? Those are the questions, right? So those are already intertwined, can't be decoupled, in my mind.
But the concept,
what's
what we put there? Well, we don't have, there's several different concepts.
No, not yet. No, not yet. I would like the board to discuss, and we will take comments in a minute.
I'm not saying decouple from the land. But stepping back, what is the concept we want to portray there? And if we decide on that concept, well, what about the other concept? Can we portray that somewhere else?
That's where I feel that, asking about what's the other concept, which I think in what we're talking about, the only other concept hanging out there is the other markers, right, that we took down, right?
No, it's more than that.
What else is there?
Well, we have the Black history markers.
Well, that's going to be decided.
But there are also
I think the
populations in town which
had some
haven't
other-
been, the indigenous populations, which, haven't been represented. There are other, we can all sigh on that.
Agree with them on that.
I do.
We can all sigh on that, but there are other voices, and you will hear that in discussion of the historical preservation, because there's been feedback that those voices need to be heard as part of our historical preservation. So how are those voices heard in town?
Well, we were hoping that the historic we could talk about this later, but, and I'm jumping ahead, excuse me, but I feel like the plan that we have from the Historic Preservation Commission or whatever, we were hoping that would give us some direction, and it doesn't.
Well, we haven't asked questions yet. We haven't.
Well, we read it.
So can I just ask?
I think we read it, and it doesn't.
So let me just, actually, Mary, you were going back to, so if we focus on, let's say that particular plot of land, and we're saying what we're trying to do is identify, the work group would focus on what is that memorial that we want to have there. So it sort of, when all these other voices come in and say, I think it should represent this and this and this, that work group has to help sort of
Yes.
grapple with those issues and
Yes.
come back to us with a recommendation.
That's what I envisioned.
Okay, and I'm okay with that. So we, whether it's a tercentennial market, we could actually have a separate ask around the tercentennial markers. I don't know what the status of those are. But part of my question, and this is for the Historic Commission, is sort of how do we as a community find that balance of all that representation? And maybe we'll start with this one memorial.
Okay. Let's take a crack at a task force to look at the Revolutionary War Memorial vis-a-vis that particular piece of land, and how do we integrate that with the other voices that want to be represented in that space?
That's a good way to do it.
You think so?
In that
What do you
space?
think?
I don't know that
Does it have to be in that space?
I don't know.
I would take the in that, could be other spaces.
What other spaces?
Well, you could put the tercentennial markers back up. You could put- I mean,
Forget that
but
for
I
a minute.
guess,
Just
yeah.
let's stick with the Revolution. So you're saying the Revolutionary War Memorial could be some other place?
No.
Oh, so it has to be in that
The
space?
whatever we call that, something has to be in that space.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're going to talk about space?
But the other concepts which don't make it into that list could be represented elsewhere.
So
Could they
if-
be signs, or there could be,
Is the focus on the space, or is the focus on the War Memorial? Or is the focus on this broad thing, like, well, what do we want?
I think,
help me out.
I'm going to try.
Help me,
I'm
please.
going to try.
Go ahead, try. Try.
So we have an agenda item to talk about the War Memorial. So that focuses
Yes.
us on the War Memorial. As we entered that conversation, it became clear that there are other narratives that need to be uplifted and evidenced within the community. But the War Memorial was the start and is the thing that we are focused on here. But
Okay.
those other narratives need to have air. They need some oxygen. And how do we wrestle with that in conjunction with trying to cite the War Memorial and what it is? I think that is a good conversation for us to be engaged in. Paul mentioned indigenous populations. We have the Black heritage markers that are, going to be in front of us soon enough. So there are a variety of threads here that need some level of representation. I'll just say in the town, but the War Memorial is probably fairly specifically on that lot, on that property.
Okay, so then I think we're back to what I said earlier, if I'm listening correctly. The task force to look at citing the Revolutionary War on that plot of land and how that integrates with other things people would like to see represented there.
Just take out the word
Take
there.
the word there.
It could be
Because
in the community.
then we need some suggestion, where do we represent those?
Well, they want it on that plot.
Right,
can I just-
but that could be a little bit more open to if there's a committee or a group or somebody
Yeah.
looking at it. I mean, they
Right.
can sort of, you can go in with a hypothesis that that is an important piece of land and that should be maybe a primary consideration for the Revolutionary War.
Okay.
But also that you're not explicitly excluding, other things, other locations that could be possible.
For other things.
For other narratives.
And there are people that are actually thinking, why can't we have both there? Why can't there be something,
There could
right? So I'm worried that the way it's written, it would be excluding other, representations there besides the
So I'd leave it up to this task force to work that, to take a broader look, to take two looks. One, specifically, what do we do there? But then, broader, what?
How do you represent?
If we're not doing, we're going to do X
What do we do there?
But if we don't do Y and Z there, where do we do that? Do we need Y and Z?
So we're focusing on what do we do at that land?
Yes.
Okay,
What do we
okay.
do with the Revolutionary War Monument? What do we do with that land? And then the
Other
third
interests.
piece is how do we make sure that there are, Dean, you said it well.
Other narratives?
Yeah.
I don't-
There it is. I just want to be mindful that this started with the 250, recognition of the 250th, right? So, and that
Good
committee
point,
did
yes.
start looking at other narratives, if we want to use that.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and that's what I just want to make sure that we
Yeah.
have some.
So it's a slightly broader remit, a slightly broader charge for that group, which I think is appropriate. So it doesn't exclude other things elsewhere, but it does focus on what to do at that site.
So then what will we do?
Okay. Here's what I'd like to do is, you know what, I'm sure there's some people who want to make some comments. I think we're going to have to decide how we move it forward, and somebody will have to write a charge.
Someone's going to have to.
Right. Do we have any volunteers?
I'll
who
do
might-
it.
You'll do it?
Yep.
To do, what is she?
Writing a draft.
Draft a
I'm the
charge for the
HDC, I'm the
workers? Yeah.
HDC liaison, so
Oh.
it's, I think,
Good.
natural.
Great. All right, so.
This is going to be
Are you okay if
impossible.
You'll have some
Wait,
help.
I'm the historical commission liaison, which is equally
I'm sorry?
relevant. I'm not debating.
You'll be able to
I'll help you
consult.
out.
You're what?
Okay, so I would
I
like
can
to.
do it, Paul.
Yeah.
I know, you do
can do it.
everything.
All right, so I am seeing one hand, Nancy Freeland.
For some.
Yeah, for Sal, I know, I'm just reading it wrong. Kristen. Nancy, we're getting you access. If you could just unmute. You should be all set. Nancy?
Yes.
I've got it.
Yeah, you're all
Hi.
set.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll try to keep this short. This is a very complex topic, as you're all well aware. And just to make clear, I'm Nancy Frisella Lee, 140 Walden Street. I'm a member of the Historical Commission. I am a member of the 250 Permanent Memorial Subcommittee. And I really like the direction you're going in, so I feel encouraged. Thank you for that. I think there should be some kind of task force. I'm trying to put together a letter for you because I was actually thinking of asking you to appoint a temporary monuments and markers committee, but I hesitated on that because it's such a broad topic. What I would really like to point out, though, is I do a lot of thinking about this. I wrote a long paper on the tercentenary markers. I'm in contact with Shirley Blanke, who is the leading expert on our Native American history. I've spoken to her a lot about this. And from my experiences with all projects, the tercentenary marker project, the permanent memorial proposal for parcel 1693, and then listening very intently to the Black Heritage Trail Marker Project. What I'm really concerned about is the controversies that have come up around all of these issues. And in some cases, it's natural. This is a topic that is contentious all over the world, actually. So it's not unique to Concord. But I think what I want to point out is that we should learn from some mistakes. I can point out some mistakes from each of these projects. And that, I think, will help us moving forward. I don't think we should ignore those. And so a task force to look at Rev War Memorial, yes, we need that. That cannot be overlooked. And also we need to respect what the 250 Permanent Memorial Committee wanted to do on parcel 1693, although it wasn't successful. So we should, as I have already been quoted in the bridge saying, we need to take stock of everything that we have, and I'm concerned about how the task force would be structured, and I have some ideas for that I think I'll put in a letter to you. I think it would be really great to have a mediator for that, so that person really has the ability to bring voices who have strong opinions on each side, and to try to stop it being oppositional and try to have some middle ground. I really hope that for our community. We're in our time right now, we are so in such a mess politically in the country, and I think Concord should be a role model to try to avoid this.
Yep.
So I'll keep it short, and I'll write to you, but thank you for taking this direction. I think it's a good direction to go in.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it, and complex is the word. Right, Henry, Sam?
I'll start off by saying,
Come up to the table, get to the microphone so everyone can hear you.
Henry Dane, 58 Everett Street, and also here on behalf of the Concord 250 Corporation, whose primary current project is to facilitate a Revolutionary War monument. And hearing everything that was said today, I would start out with two propositions. It is definitely not one or the other, and we should do what we can do instead of trying to find the perfect solution that's comprehensive and addresses all issues. And so,
So,
Henry, can you clarify, when you say it's not one or the other, what do you mean? It's not one or the other on that piece of
where
land?
could I start?
When you said it's not one or the other, can you clarify, what did you mean by that?
It's, I don't really, it is not, the choices are not one or the other, that we should focus on what can be done, rather than trying to come up with a comprehensive solution for all related issues. And one of the reasons that we withdrew the Article 31 is that many of the people who favored there being a Revolutionary War monument were pulling in different directions, and were considering various ways of going about it, as Nancy has. She's participated in many of our conversations. I think we do have an answer, and I think it's appropriate that we get something done in the time scope of the 250th anniversary, which is the appropriate time for it. So I think we have an answer, and that is, and I have some materials here with some plans that I would like to share with you, because I believe that the Revolutionary War Monument can be built in the area where the current memorials are, that is, the ones that are the First World War, and the ones with the flags, and the ones that in the area with the Concord Bell, and that a Revolutionary War monument could be built on the corner of that lot, on the corner of Monument Square, leaving totally untouched parcel 1693, that whole area, to be available for other purposes, other options, or for other uses that other people want to carry forward, to which we have no objection and fully support. Except to the extent that they make it difficult to carry forward the one fairly simple task of recognizing the names of the 22 identified Concordians, several of whom were of color, who died in the service of their country during that 8-year period. And it would be, I think it's a worthwhile project to carry forward, and it doesn't need to depend on solving all the other problems that are related to it, especially if you recognize there is loads of room in that area for both projects, and we don't have to decide what all of the others are before we can go forward with the Revolutionary War Monument. So I've shown where it could be. I've shown some samples of the kind of thing that we're thinking about that would give you an idea of the scale, and we are ready to work with anybody who wants to work with us to carry this forward and to provide the funds to do it, as many of those memorials in that area were created with donations and voluntary labor, and were not done at the expense of the town, but by the Rotary Club and the veterans organizations and so on. And they would be willing to help us and help to support it and help to fund it. And we would do everything to make that possible, because I think that to appoint a committee to study the broad range of issues will just delay a decision and will not get us to any greater consensus on what it is to be done. So I would appreciate, what I'd appreciate from you is an endorsement from the Select Board of the Concord 250 corporation having a claim to that space that I've identified in this map, and so that we would have the incentive to move forward with a more particular design to be reviewed. Remember, the design has to be reviewed by the board, by the Historical District Commission, and so on.
Yep. No, appreciate it. I don't think you're going to get that tonight. I think we're just seeing this for the first time. So I think what I'd like to do at this point is actually ask the board if this is something that should be considered by the work group, and how you might want to handle this. I think that this is one idea of how the memorial could be handled.
That's right.
Right? It's just one of many.
That's right.
This is a different location. It's still public property, and it's still worthy of the same process, I think, that we were previously discussing.
Exactly, it's information for...
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Consider it? Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I can ask of you, that you give it consideration, and thank you.
Appreciate it. Great, thank you, Henry.
Thank you, Henry.
Henry, do you have this electronically?
Do I have a what?
Do you have this electronically?
I do, but not with me.
Okay, no, okay. That'd be great.
Yes, I will send it to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank
That'd be
you.
great. Okay.
Anything else you want?
All right, great, thank you. All right, we are way behind schedule. We'll deal with some of this a little bit later. We have two more items that were on the town meeting warrant article that I wanted to discuss. Article 42 was the composting ratepayer program feasibility analysis that was requested and approved. Megan, you put a memo in. Was it you or Carrie that put the memo in the handout? Do you want to speak to that briefly?
Sure. I just wanted to update the board on a meeting that we had last week with a member, the chair of the Select Board, Wendy, Climate Action Committee Chair, Public Works Commission Chair, and Finance Committee Chair, Don. And we really just met to make sure the group was on the same page. Of course, a number of town meeting attendees and committees are interested in the future of the work plan that will come out of that article. And before kind of groups were going off and doing some of that work, we wanted to kind of get together as a group and discuss it. And I think in the memo I covered, there was some interest in doing some case study work. There was interest in kind of reviewing the materials that the students, the submitters put together. And there's also a commitment from the town manager for staff to put together a work plan and then identify the resources kind of pending the select board's conversation this evening or, on this topic.
So I appreciate that. I think that what that was, so the key is sort of defining what is that scope of that work and then looking to see what resources could be available to do that work. So I think from our perspective, I want to support that work continuing, and then at the right time, you bring it back to us with just status updates. But it seems like the work is progressing as requested.
I guess I'm hearing a concern about the scope of the work, though.
Well, it's just defining the scope.
So you're just going to define the scope and come back to us? Is that the plan?
Yes. Well, yes, and we've started to work on kind of what are we going to be studying here based on the article, the recommendation at town meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, really, what does a feasibility analysis really mean? What's the scope that goes into doing that?
Okay. Okay.
And then conducting it, so planning the resources for actually doing the analysis. Who does it? How are we going to get it done? Right? So.
Is there an opportunity to stir in what I'll call volunteer resources, either folks who are on the CAC or maybe some of the students who had brought this to us?
Do some lifting.
There's enthusiasm that we can tap.
I think it's a natural one. Once we see the scope of work, I think some of that will be apparent.
Yeah.
But I don't want to preempt that.
All right.
Did you want to comment? I think our plan was, we were looking at trying to get an intern or a student, someone to help with this who could be dedicated to it and work with town staff during the day, et cetera. So I think that was the approach that we were taking.
I think the biggest issues, we just want to make sure everybody is working in the same direction. We don't want 3 different boards doing 3 different sets of research on this. So I think we could bring the proposed scope and plan of attack at the meeting on the 22nd.
Good.
Okay, great.
Okay, great. Okay, and then in the agenda packet, we also identified the wireless zoning bylaw that we all understand failed one vote by two-thirds from the two-thirds majority.
Right.
There were a lot of concerns raised after that around 911 service, and one of the other things that Megan had provided, I think it's actually in our goals update, Megan provided a very comprehensive status update on what we are doing in the cell coverage, but at the very end of that on page 193, for those who are listening, there is an update around how we're handling the 911 service. So I want people to be assured that we're handling it today, and there are some systems in place to handle it. So I just want to provide that information for now. I don't want to get into the details of that. If people have questions, then we can follow up at another time on that. But there is some information in the packet for that. So that was the main things that we wanted to cover in terms of warrant articles. I just want to, I'm not seeing any hands raised on the remote. I don't see any hands raised here on town meeting articles. Okay, so let's move forward. Now, we're going to move on to the update from the Minuteman Regional Vocational Technical School District. Carrie, you were going to help us with that update.
Sure, so hopefully this will be a quick item. A few weeks ago, we received a letter from the Minuteman Regional Vocational Technical School District advising us that the school committee took a vote to increase its fiscal '26 budget by $325,000. They will fund this increase by drawing down on their E&D account, which is their version of free cash. Their E&D account was certified by the state in the same manner as the town's free cash is certified. It was certified back, I believe, in March, and it was certified at the amount of $1.74 million, and that was about $177,000 over its maximum certification, which is 5%. And so this is not uncommon where there's an E&D certification that is above what is allowed, and the school committee will go back and look at its budget and decide it wants to make a different budget adjustment, because the only other option then is to return the excess to the member communities. And so there is a process. They've notified us. They've notified all of the member communities. Member communities have 45 days to act on this. Unfortunately, acting on this means calling a special town meeting, and nobody's going to call a special town meeting. So this really is an advisory that this is a step that they are going to take. Again, it's not going to increase, while it increases their budget for the year, it's not going to increase member assessments. And I did include in here, because this is a bit frustrating because of the timing. They knew they had the excess back in March. They could have taken a look at it. They could have notified member communities in a timetable that they could have acted in their annual town meeting, or you could go to the extraordinary step of calling a special within an annual town meeting. Likely, nobody would have done anything. It's just the timing is frustrating, but obviously at that time they, like everybody, are working on their fiscal '27 budget, and so we're here at a point where there really isn't any action to take other than to put the select board and the community on notice of their intent. And I don't think I mentioned they're looking to amend to increase their budget by $325,000 to transfer that to their capital stabilization fund.
So you're right, it's not unusual. We've had, the region has done the same thing in recent years as well. I do think, though, that, this is me personally, I would be willing to write a letter to the superintendent, because I think it's important, in light of the fact that they knew that they had this information, they could have made a better effort to notify the districts. And in fact, I talked to Dee Ortner about it. She didn't even know about this. She was never even notified about it either. So I think it's important that we at least send a letter, and that we watch it next year, and that we ask the question about this. They did actually do an additional transfer for OPEB, but from a capital perspective, part of their annual budget that we pay for is a contribution to capital already. So this is a contribution on top of the budgeted contribution that we already made. So, I mean, it's a good thing they manage their capital well, but I still think this is worth some communication. So I will draft that letter on behalf of the select board.
That's fine.
And share it with
So it's a little curious to me that they're over by 177,000 or something, and yet they transferred 325,000. Like, what's that number? You know, why not just take it down to 5% and call it a day? But
they wanted to make sure they were under after they did their encumbrances. I don't know.
Already certified.
Yeah,
they know what the number is. They just take it down.
Well, that's certifications from prior, right? So, but anyway, so I'll take
Yeah,
that
it says it's to
draft.
maximize the allowable contribution to the capital stabilization fund.
Right,
So I think they said if we're gonna.
We've got to take something. Let's max it out.
Yeah,
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you for that summary, Carrie. I appreciate that. All right, so I'm just going to do a little time check here. I want to just acknowledge that on our agenda, we have a goals discussion, and I'm likely thinking that we're going to defer that or ask for some feedback. So I am mindful of time, and so we are still going to proceed with what we've got scheduled, and the select board specific items might be abbreviated. Okay, so let's move forward. So I think we next have a presentation. Doug is here. Yeah, Doug Ellis from the Historic Commission, and we want to hear an update from your historic plan.
Lauren Meyer's also
Thanks,
here with
Laura.
me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. I can't tell you how good it is to finally be here.
It's been a while, right? Yeah.
Just for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It's been so much fun.
Okay.
And Lauren is?
Yeah.
Lauren Meyer, 36 Mill Run. I'm a member of the Historical Commission.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So I'd like to start this out, just part of our vision over here.
Yeah.
Preservation is retrospective and forward-looking, centered on people and the environment, and fully integrated into community plans and practices. I think that kind of says a lot about this, about what this is. So just kind of more of the background. We've been doing it for better part of 2 years. Friday sessions, 2 hours for weeks upon weeks. Kind of why now are we doing it? So we've got 250 upon us. It's a multi-year guide for the Concord Historical Commission as well as the allied organizations. We've had 350 plus, actually. I think this is not enough. You've got to get the more updated one. Over 1,000 participants have chimed in on both the feedback originally and after we sent it out for review. We've got some very good feedback. Thank you very much, Megan. It's really, Concord is centered on the power of place. It extends beyond just the buildings. It gets into kind of the cultural fabric of the landscapes and the distinctive neighborhood villages, scenic roads, and the neighborhood character that we've got. We just need to make sure that we remind ourselves that. Top concerns, we've got gentrification, climate change, affordable housing, and MCI, of course. So vision statement here, just to kind of go through it again. I read the first part, but as a place of experimentation and innovation, Concord supports sensitive development and preserves and enhances the town's multifaceted past. As a place of national and local memory, Concord recognizes the power to provoke thought, provide historical perspective, and inspire action in timeless social and environmental issues. I mean, we think about so many things in Concord that really have been really leading edge for so many years. So we just want to make sure that what we have kind of continues along with that. So, what are our core values? Inclusive participation, collaboration, partnership, inclusive cultural heritage, we heard that loud and clear, celebrating untold stories, vital village centers and public places, cultural landscapes and open space, housing choice and affordability. We picked a really good night to be here. That was great conversation earlier.
Yeah.
Mobility and access, environmental sustainability. So, what are our opportunities and challenges? So, well, we got MCI Concord, everybody knows that. Once in a lifetime opportunity. No one needs to remind us of that twice. Hanscom expansion, they've been pushing for it. I haven't heard anything for a while, but
Been delayed.
yeah, it may come up again. Definitely not good for historical preservation. Route 2A, we understand state every now and then is looking at expanding 2A, which could have an impact on our historical resources. MBTA communities, which we all know. ADA use by right. Opportunity for historic reuse, carriage, garage, and such. And climate legislation for historic district reviews. So our goals. So first and foremost, we need to do a developed communications plan. So updating our website and all the materials that we've got so everybody is aware of what we do and what are the resources that are available to them. 2, we've got documentation that we'd like to do. MCI Concord, of course. Thoreau Depot, Hubbard Street, heard loud and clear that those folks are very, very interested in maintaining the historic preservation of their neighborhood. Planning planning and land use. So zoning review, strengthen demolition review, update HCC design guidelines. So design guidelines, we heard tonight, lots of discussion there. That is a big topic. It comes up all the time. It's something we would love to have some design guidelines out there, so when things like this come up, it's not a matter of, you're not holding it off because you don't know what you want it to look like. The major concern here isn't the message, it's the clutter. We want the town to maintain the character. We don't want just clutter of signs all over the place. I think everybody would agree with that. And zoning review, really, we'd love to review our zoning. We've had the thing that we've come up with, a term we use, you get what you're zoned for. So if we allow a developer to come in and plow things down like they've done in West Concord, that's what's going to happen. And we see pressures on a lot of places like West Concord where you see these smaller, more affordable houses. A developer comes in and the opportunity comes, it's going to be taken down, and something bigger very often will come in its place. So we need to think about, and Megan's got very good comments about the demolition review. These are things we need to think more about, and can we do more with this? And again, this is a roadmap. We're not here with solutions today. We're here with a plan of things that we need to focus on over the coming years. So we have a roadmap. And last but not least, update the Historical Districts Commission and Historical Commission administrative codes and align the senior planner role. And if Ann were here, she would tell you, she's got the CPA, and she's got a whole lot of things. If there's some ways that things could be a little bolstered to give a little bit more support for that, that would help a lot. Community feedback. So we got lots and lots of feedback on the plus side. They love that comprehensive, looking forward, broad-based. They love the village center, walkable scale, Thoreau District, Belknap Street, expanding information, the untold stories. Love the things that we're getting through the visitor center, the Patriots of Color tour, a lot of the things that Beth Williams has been involved in. Sustainability, adaptive reuse, people gave us a lot of positive feedback about that. Coordination with other town plans. And a lot of, even like in talking with other groups, there's definitely a lot of overlap within other town commissions that it makes perfect sense to have the and that came off as a positive. Key concerns. Articles 34 and 36, zoning may increase density and pressure in historic village centers. State housing legislation and development may outpace the preservation tools that we've got available to us. Budget realism, staffing requests arrive during a period of when the town is looking to cut, which, understandable. It's natural friction. And continued challenge to explain the benefits of historic preservation versus economic development. A lot of people think, well, why wouldn't you want a newer house? That's what people want. But there's an opportunity there, and it's a trade-off, because the people who are already there see that the town, the neighborhood that they grew up in, changing. And the affordability may change, right? So we need to have the conversations and think about some of the things that we're doing now to put better structures in place and more coordination among our different commissions, like with housing. Right now, in going through this, just as an example, the Housing Authority isn't aware of the houses that come up for demolition review. There's an opportunity. Something that might be, somebody just wants to get, rid of it because it's not in good condition. They want to dispose of it. A developer comes along, they say, I'll take it off your hands. But you could bring that house back to possibly what it was. It's not going to be a case all the time, but it's something that might be possible. Just looking at opportunities. So kind of the next steps of where we are. So we've had the review. We are incorporating all the comments into the final plan. What we have now, I believe, is updated fairly recently. What's on the website? Things haven't changed dramatically, but we are updating things as we get in good, thoughtful comments, and we appreciate them and keep them coming. We would love to have the select board's support and help with implementation partnerships. Okay. Just the awareness that there are things that maybe we could do on the historic preservation side as opportunities arise. We will be presenting. Our goal is to have this all finished, all the comments incorporated and posted back out to the public by the end of the month. Okay. And then we'll be looking for just an endorsement from the select board.
Okay. So, Doug, are you still collecting feedback?
How can we ever say no?
Well, I just didn't know. I thought it was cut off, so I'm just, if you're encouraging more, then we should still get more.
If it comes in later, this, we always say this is a living, breathing document. Okay. Is it ever going to be done? No. Yeah. But we have to at some point say, okay, this is, we're going to continue on, but, the plan is the plan. Yep.
I'll just, if I might just add, a lot of the comments that came in, I think I think that feedback is really a good thing. It was clear that there were some ideas that perhaps weren't explained well enough, or that there was a few little omissions that needed to be fleshed out. So we are trying to, address all the feedback we got. And so, but I think the commission feels that this shouldn't be a static document so much, because there may be issues that come up, or there may be something that someone sees that, we weren't aware of. So I think if folks have comments, we're very welcome to share them with us, and we'll do the best we can. Absolutely.
Well, let's start with comments. Mary has one right here.
I do.
Mary's always good for comments.
Yes.
Doug and I are neighbors, and we have dogs that are friendly with each other, so I hope we're still friends at the end of tonight. Tonight, the very first public comment that we had was a woman who said that we should base our decisions on our values. So I was really glad to see that in your plan you started by listing your core values. And the core values that especially resonated with me were like inclusive cultural heritage, celebrating untold stories, housing choice, and affordability. So I'm wondering, I've got a few questions. So how do you reconcile housing choice and affordability with your key concern about overdevelopment?
I think that is a great question. I think in many ways, at some level, Concord as a community has to decide what it wants. And what we see in the Historical Commission within our purview is we're seeing, as Doug mentioned, a lot of the modest housing that was built 50 to 70 years ago. A lot of those smaller houses are coming down in favor of very, very large new construction that's very expensive. And that's not so much an overdevelopment issue, but it is kind of, because it's overdevelopment in the context of neighborhood character, because then we see these very large houses going in places that are, more modest neighborhoods. And that's something that we struggle with sort of on the commission, because the only tool we have is demolition review. And for something that is both historically significant and determined to be preferably preserved, then the commission can request a one-year delay. And during that time, we hope that there are different solutions that are explored that could perhaps retain.
I think it's an economic issue that the value of the land can't support a small house anymore. So it's an economic issue. I think the demolition delays, but doesn't prevent economic realities. But thank you. I want to go on. Okay. Sure. I'm going back to the other core values that you mentioned, and one was inclusive cultural heritage and celebrating untold stories. And yet, when I look at the recommendations, I don't see how these are addressed at all. And in fact, I don't even see them addressed in the body of the report itself. So for example, when you're discussing things that you feel are worth preserving, the name Emerson is mentioned many times, Hawthorne's Thoreau. There's no mention of Ellen Garrison. There's no mention of Brewster Freeman. There's no mention of any black man. When we look at what places, you even mentioned Canantum Neighborhood and Concord Museum, and yet Robin's House is mentioned, I think, twice, and that's in one context. It's not mentioned in something worth preserving. It's just kind of an aside. So I'm wondering if our value is to celebrate untold stories, then what are the recommendations that you have to do that, and why isn't that included in your report as something that's worth preserving, these untold stories, these people who are part of our story? And that concerns me.
Well, it's a couple of different things. I mean, one, I would say the things at the visitor center, we support very much the word and getting out there. The signage, I very much support getting the signage and the messaging out there. The method of doing that, the interpretive strategy for doing that being separate. And the other, quite honestly, comes up a lot when we talk about the demolition review. A lot of those might be worker housing from immigrant housing. One of them that came up last month actually was Italian immigrant housing on was it Shadyside from like the 1880s. But that's part of that group's narrative. So it may not be something that we're out there publicly saying, we need to promote this or that or the other thing. These are the values that drive all of the decisions that we make.
So you're suggesting that a demolition delay is the way to make decisions based on the core value of celebrating untold. So what more can we? What more? I guess I'm disappointed that the recommendations that you made didn't address this more thoroughly. Because I just don't see that. It's zoning reviews and...
What would be your recommendation for what that would do for the tools that we've got?
Well, I was asked, I thought that, did we do this, was this done by consultants or was this done by...
We started off with consultants.
Right.
And we took it the most of the way.
Okay.
Well,
I feel, to me, it's an incomplete report.
So if I might just add one quick thing, and that is that we do have a project that we put forth through the CPA to document the MCI Concord and its adjacent neighborhoods. And that is a project that is very focused on the role.
Land?
Pardon me?
You're talking about land? Land? Document what exactly?
Document the historic resources. So that's land and cultural landscapes and buildings.
Oh, okay.
That would
Okay, that sounds promising.
Yeah, related to MCI Concord and the neighborhood. Really looking at the whole context, because so much of West Concord was the worker housing that supported the prison.
Okay.
So that's one little step.
Okay, that's a good
one
step.
little step. And I think it's projects like that we have talked about it, but I think we have to figure out, and maybe this is kind of we need a recommendation to develop some themes or areas that need more inquiry, and develop a collaborative approach to try to do that. But we are, with the Historical Commission, I would just add, focused on places that
Right.
are historically significant.
Right.
So there are, and sometimes they may be associated with significant persons that have, whose stories are not fully told.
Yeah, but
So
you
that's,
can't- okay.
yeah.
Okay, I'll just, first of all, I just want to say that one of the recommendations you make is to have an inventory of town-owned land and structures. We've
one.
done that as part of the land
Several.
use working group. We have that, so
Yeah,
that's done.
So,
Okay,
but
so-
that's a historical evaluation. So we take that, we need to give you feedback.
Okay, that's not what this
Yeah.
says.
So I am sort of hearing that. In your feedback, you want to see
I
some
do.
concrete examples and some recommendations, specifics
To how
and
to meet
details.
these goals,
Support them.
your
Yeah.
core
Right.
values of
Okay.
celebrating untold stories and an inclusive heritage.
Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Paul?
Yeah, I want to connect a couple of threads. You heard we were discussing the task force to kind of coordinate untold stories.
Yes.
So I think maybe you should think about that. I agree with Mary that that's an even action plan, and plagiarism is fine. If you think what we discussed here is fine, I would put it in there from a preservation point of view.
Yeah.
You don't need, the whole native indigenous populations, the archaeological sites, there are lots of places around town for that, so you can merge those together. I want to come back to, well, let me talk about the actions. First of all, it's a very thoughtful, creative plan. It's not perfect. You get a lot of feedback, but I think it tells stories and makes a lot of good recommendations. On the recommendations, and I like action plans, there are 15 specific high-priority actions with the CHC in the lead. It would be good if you kind of put some, thought into prioritization, implementation.
Right.
Even think about budgets, because it's nice to put in the plan, and I think they're all good recommendations, in addition to the untold stories, but think about how you might conduct those over the next few years, because they're all there, but it has
too much
your
to
fingerprints
do,
over all of them. It's too much. And, you don't have to do everything in 1 year, but I think you ought to identify the highest priority actions in there. So some prioritization would be useful.
Yeah.
I want to talk about MCI for the moment. And I am aware, because I was on CPC when I think the thematic preservation study.
Yes.
The more general question, how is your historic preservation concerns, issues, how's that going to be blended into the MCI planning? I know you're one of the stakeholders of the group.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking how, we have a site that has a history.
Yes.
It's not going to be that site anymore. It's going to be something different.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about the historic preservation influence it can have on that development? You don't have to answer that right now, but I think that's an important nexus of what you're doing and the development. You can't preserve all the structures or any of them.
Right.
But what can you preserve, and what's the input for that?
Yeah.
So I think that stakeholder meeting is going to be really important, because it has a lot of history, not only the site, but the environments around it.
Yes,
So I think,
the
I think it's a really
context.
important thing to think about.
Yeah.
But I'm also asking, how's that thematic, and I'll read it. It's the
Study.
What's it called? CPC.
The study.
It's a-
The
it's-
study.
No, it's a
The study.
Concord
Right.
Reformatory and West Concord Thematic Preservation Survey.
Yes.
So you have to have
Status.
good funding for that. How will the results of that survey inform what we're doing with that site?
Well, that's a
You should
great.
think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah. Do you want to?
Well,
So actually, you know what, I would like it to us to move along. I think the recommendation is document it and give us some progress, and I actually would welcome that document, and the MCI Planning Committee might like to hear
Yeah.
your status as well, so.
We'd
You wanna
love to
answer
do
the
that.
question now?
Yeah.
The chair has ruled.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And responses to my concerns as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I am very mindful of time here, and I don't want to cut you short. Dean, any specific feedback?
I had a question about strengthening demolition review, but I'll.
So I guess what I would suggest is that we should continue to add feedback in the way that you've advocated, and I'll certainly do the same. Anything, Cameron, that you want to add to this?
I mean, yeah, I think broadly inclusive of the whole history.
Yes,
Yeah.
the whole history.
Yeah.
All the stories.
We-
The
we
stories we
agree.
know, the
Right.
stories we
Yeah.
don't,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
How are we broadly inclusive of all of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the challenge is the education to the community and getting the word out, because I think there's a lot that's going on that people are not aware of, right? So now that your
Yes,
report's
and
here, get the word out and
that's
the
your job.
mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's very helpful. So thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you for your time.
You still friends, Doug?
Yeah. Okay, we have still a few things on the agenda. I want to get through the
let's do
next
it.
two very quickly. So is Kristen online? Oh, Kristen, sorry.
Yeah, there she is.
She's behind Doug, I can't see. Oh, no, over there, okay. All right, hi, Kristen, come on up. So Kristen, I'm mindful that we saw an earlier version of this application before, and I understood it just needed now to go through the state process, and now you're back as a result of that. So I think it's a lot of content that was in here, but we've seen it before.
Yeah,
And so maybe you can highlight for us what's changed.
Sure. So my name's Kristen Gieshard. I'm from the Regional Housing Services Office. And I think it was a few months back, Liz Rust, the other co-director, was in front of you giving a briefing memo about the Novo Riverside Commons project and their intent to change from the mass housing program to the LIP program, which is like the friendly 40B, right? And then following that, Stephanie Kiefer, who I think is on virtually tonight, representing Novo.
There she is. There she- yeah.
Hi,
Yeah.
Stephanie. Formally came to the board to request their support to submit the LIP application together, which the select board approved. And since then, they've moved forward with their formal submissions to the state and approval process with the state and ZBA. And now they're in front of the board tonight with a request to formally vote and authorize signature on the LIP regulatory agreement. So that's the agreement that kind of sets the perpetual restriction for affordability on the project. And then the monitoring services agreement, which is the agreement between the town of Concord and Novo. So that helps the town of Concord to kind of recoup the cost of being that co-monitoring agency with EOHLC. It helps to pay for those monitoring services that the RHSO performs for the town. And then the authorization letter that gets submitted to the state saying that, yes, we, the town of Concord, agree and are submitting and are looking for your approval on the final LIP application documents.
Great.
Nothing's changed.
Nope, and Stephanie, if there's something else that you wanted to speak to.
Yeah, no, I think you summarized it well. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Good evening, members of the Select Board and everyone in attendance. Stephanie Kiefer from Smolak and Vaughan. And exactly as Kristen suggested, we were here kind of at the beginning when we were transferring our program to the LIP, asking the Select Board support, and we're very grateful for that. And so this is the back end, if you will, of the process where we now go for what's known as final approval with HLC, and that is kind of the key document is the regulatory agreement that puts in place is the agreement with HLC, the applicant, and the town relative to the rules of the game and how it actually works and how the 40B, is, it gets constructed, the affordability stays in place, the cost certification, and it sets forth that tone. So what we provided to Kristen and to the town is that document. It is submitted in a red line form per requirements of the HLC. Once they do the final approval process, they then give the green light and let everybody, they circulate a final version, which everyone signs. And then likewise, this evening, we've submitted the RHSO red line contract that would be entered into, that's not HLC, that's between the town and the developer. And that's under the regulatory agreement, section 19, it allows the town the option to have an affordability monitor in place. And Concord has selected RHSO to assist in that function. So that draft is there. And then lastly, we've just submitted the proposed letter that is to be submitted to HLC with the final approval package. The draft that we provided in the board's package this evening, it's to the attention of HLC directly. Should the board, again, vote to approve this, we would just ask, and I think that this was done at the beginning stage of the LIP process, that it be provided back to me or to the developer so that we can kind of package it when we submit our final approval to HLC to keep it a consistent package.
Great.
If the board has any questions, happy to respond. And also, I'm sorry I'm not there in person today, but my colleague John Smolak, I believe, is in the audience as well. So
That's John back there.
Yeah. All right. So I think this is the same documents that we saw earlier. I did see that the 2026 AMI updates are in there, and then I know there was a change in the mix of bedroom units, 1 and 2 bedroom in one of the buildings, so that's represented here as well. Is there anything else that has really changed?
Those are the two items.
Those are the two items. Okay.
It should be in your packet.
Yeah. I just, a lot of documents in there, so I just wanted to double check. That's what I thought had changed, just changed. Any other questions?
Has the building permit been pulled?
I don't believe it has been.
I think this has to submit.
So once
to be done.
once the decision requires that the regulatory agreement be recorded first. So that's kind of the first step. And then once the building permit's pulled, then those units can be submitted to get back on the SHI.
Great.
Yep.
That's where I was going.
And if I can just jump in and add one additional thing. The building permit application has been submitted, and we've gone through staff meeting and on-site staff meeting, so it's kind of like teed up, but as Kristen suggests, exactly that we need to obtain the final approval before permits can issue.
Okay.
Makes sense. Okay.
All right. Dean,
The question about this is the first time I'm getting this,
Yeah.
because you guys
Oh,
have had
sorry.
another
Yeah,
cycle on
yeah.
it, though. How did we arrive at $1,000 plus $50 a unit as the basic fee for monitoring?
Have Kristen answer us, yeah.
That's a great question.
That's
I'm
the
actually going
RSO's
to defer
list.
to Liz Russ. So this has been a number that's been established prior to my being co-director, and it's been in place for quite some time, I believe, for other communities as well. But
Liz,
for
do you
the
want
details.
Liz, can you
Yeah,
comment?
It seems like a basic kind of fee structure, and it's been used by other developers in similar situations to have some scalable piece, but a fixed portion as well to just kind of get the monitoring going.
Do we feel as though that will cover our costs? I mean, as a, for doing the
Yes.
monitoring? You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have
Fair
talked.
enough.
Cameron, any comments? No? Okay, are we ready for some motions?
Three motions. I'm going to motion to authorize the town manager to execute on behalf of the town the local initiative program regulatory and use agreement for Novo Riverside Commons.
Second. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Secondly, a motion to authorize the town manager to submit a letter to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities advising of the board's vote, together with the town's continued support of the project, including the applicant's request for final approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And finally, a motion to authorize the town manager to execute the monitoring agreement for Novo Commons.
Second.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Kristen. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, everyone.
Stephanie.
Okay. Stephanie.
John.
And John, okay. Can't see.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right. Yeah, I was actually, so we have, Jill Block is here from the Hugh Cargill Trust, and we have a very quick change to the charge that Jill would like to review with us. So Jill, would you like to come forward and we'll, yeah.
And I'm here because I live at 50 Everett Street and I have no Wi-Fi tonight.
Oh, no.
So.
Okay.
All day I've had no Wi-Fi, so I had
I'm
to go to the
sorry.
library to even get the agenda to find out when I had to be here.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, so the Hugh Cargill Trust, really quickly, we provide emergency financial relief to people in town. We're a committee of 5 people, a chairperson, myself, a clerk, a member at large, an intake person, and a treasurer. We had an opening this year. We had a number of applicants for the empty seat, and we had 2 really excellent applicants. And one wants to take on kind of be in training for the intake role, which is probably the most challenging of them. We work very confidentially with people who are requesting assistance. They work with the person requesting assistance and make sure that it fits our requirements. And then the other more challenging role is that of treasurer. Challenging is really not the appropriate word, but you know, but that's one of the meatier roles on this committee. And we have 2 really wonderful applicants, and we don't want to risk losing both of them or one of them if we wait for another year. So the current charge allows for 5 members on the committee, and if we add both of them now, we would have 6 members. So we really want to add both of them so we don't risk losing them. Wendy had raised the possibility of what happens if we have conflicting votes, if we want a majority. In my 2.5 years on this committee, we've always been in agreement. By the time a request comes to us, it's been vetted usually through the Council on Aging or the town social worker. That's the majority of our requests. So there's very little controversy. If we did have any discussion, we would look to have a quorum to reach a conclusion on an award, but we haven't faced that at all. So we really just want to change the charge from 5 to 6.
So that's the only change that was in there. It wasn't a red line change, it was just a numeric change. There wasn't one. I know, I was waiting for that.
I probably said more than you even needed to figure that out, but I just, as a way of background about, we have 2 really good people, and they both, one of them wants to do intake, and one wants to be the treasurer. It's perfect. We don't have a conflict there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's helpful to have more particular, I've watched the committee for a couple of years. The intake role is very challenging. It's a lot of work, and it's helpful to be on that committee for a little while to understand.
That's right. We had the previous member, we have one person who's been doing it for the past year. He's doing a great job. I help out as needed when he's not available. The person who had done that beforehand had done it for about 7 years. It's not good to have that, it's not sustainable to do that. So this would allow for the sustainability of the role.
And it's up to 6, you can always go back down to 5.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's
And the quorum will be 4. That's,
that's really all we're asking for. And then I'm hoping, I saw on your agenda that you were approving one of the other members earlier. I'm hoping that we can
that will be the second thing we will vote on today.
You'll hopefully approve
Do
both.
the
They're
first,
both really well qualified.
All right, great. Any further discussion, questions? No, love a motion.
Motion to approve the revised Hugh Cargill committee charge.
Excellent.
Second?
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then we have another motion because there's a nomination.
Which is a nomination.
Yes,
right? Not
it's a nomination
So then it will be appointed.
on June 22nd, yeah.
When would the approval?
June 22nd.
Okay, so they won't be available to be on our next call, which will be June 12th.
Can't be in your executive session. They can be there, but not,
Listen as a.
Right, but they're not
yeah,
voting then?
right. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. They'll be there.
Yeah, so motion to approve the nomination of Elizabeth Paley of 156 Belknap Street to the Hugh Cargill Trust Committee with a term date of May 31st, 2027. So expiration, I guess, until May 31st, 2027.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
While you're here, Jill, can I ask, and I don't know if you can answer this question, but I can ask it. Can you tell us how much money you have to?
Oh.
Right now, we have about $240,000. And we're making, it's interesting, there's been probably an increase of the number of requests that we're seeing every month. We're probably distributing about 15 to 18,000 every month. A lot of it right now is going towards utility bills. Over the winter, people, the National Grid and CMLP do not issue shut-off notices, but now they're coming in, so we just issued about a couple of $1,000 utility bills. A couple of the other cases recently were helping out two different women who both were dealing with situations of domestic violence, and so they really needed help with rent and other things. So a lot of it is rent, a lot of it's utilities, and then things like car insurance for a man who makes his living as an Uber driver. We provide driver's ed scholarships because that's so critical for a family where they need the extra driver. We actually helped a young man just starting out with money to purchase a car so he could find employment. So it's actually pretty amazing to see.
So you have $250,000. That's income that's coming off the principal on an annual basis. How does?
So there's, some of the money is managed by the
trustees of town donations, but that money that you're quoting is your fund that you have readily available to you. The trustees do have a fund, and each year there are requests for some funds, but that money I think is just Hugh Cargill Trust, correct? So it's not the tax relief evaluation, it's not the silent fund.
That was my question.
I figured.
How does that spread over the 4 different aspects?
So there's 4 different. That was just the Hugh Cargill money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Just for
$80,000 right now in the tax relief fund.
80,000.
That's what we raise through our annual appeals.
Right.
Okay.
So
And that's a year.
every year.
That's
80,000 a year.
Right now, that's what the balance is. Right now. So I don't know how much has come in this year offhand.
Okay.
We can carry over.
Thank you.
The balance.
That's good.
The highest from 4 years ago was 88,000.
88, good.
So it goes up and down. I mean, it depends on the.
But we have noticed trending down.
Yeah.
The donations are trending down.
Yes.
So it's a concern.
Thanks for the tangent.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for staying.
Yeah, I
great.
wish I could watch from home.
Yes.
but-
All right, Jess. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jess, you're up. Thank you for sticking with us. Yeah. All right. So we're on to the town manager review, timeline and process.
Excellent. Good evening. Jess Porter, Assistant Town Manager and HR Director. So tonight, I am before you to pitch the kickoff process for the annual review for Town Manager LaFleur. A couple of items in your packet. We have made some slight updates to the actual evaluation form itself. Probably the biggest change is that we'll be moving or proposing to move to a 5-point rating scale system instead of a 3-point.
That's good.
And we've added definitions there, so it's clear what each of those 1 through 5 ratings are. And also for ease of those members completing the form, it's going to be a nice click and fill form, hopefully a little bit easier and more efficient for the select board members to complete and then return. Just as a side note as well, I did share these materials with former member Mark Howell, since as custom dictates, he will be completing a review for the town manager as well. And Mr. Banfield, you get the year off. But we'll
I was going to ask that question.
Take the pass. The other addition is in accordance with Section 11A of the town manager's contract. The board can solicit feedback from department heads and other senior town officials. So we have begun to develop an actual 360 form. In the packet are the proposed categories of questions, which you'll see will closely mirror Section B, which is the general management, governance, and leadership section of the evaluation form. And the intent is to provide this to the 11 individuals outlined in the memo, which is essentially all members of the senior management team, or SMT as we call it internally, as well as the communications director, who is a management level employee that is a direct report of the town managers. The proposed, actually, just to back up again, I did speak and work with Wendy Rovelli on this questionnaire and the changes to the form, and then she and I also met with Chair of the Personnel Board, Bill Marachek, to get his feedback and recommendations. And in terms of the 360, we also gathered some forms from a few other communities that are currently doing a 360 for their town manager as well. We also have a proposed timeline before you that indicates the town manager would essentially begin June 1st, which is today, crazy, on her self-evaluation, giving 3 weeks for her to return. That would be June 22nd. On that same day, we'll distribute the 360 review forms to the 11 individuals listed in the memo. And then right around the same time, I will also distribute to each of you, as well as Mr. Howell, the evaluation materials. And those evaluations and reviews will be due back to me for compiling on July 13th. And we are targeting a presentation of August 3rd to the Select Board. And then subsequently, the compensation discussion would be on August 17th. And that kind of outlines where we are. I'm happy to take any questions, feedback, particularly on the 360 piece, if there's any.
Yeah, I guess the other comment is just when you did the 360 for the staff, we've mirrored some of those questions to make sure and tweak them even on our form also, so that there's alignment to those questions. So
I think the addition of 360 is terrific. I hope the town manager feels the same way. But I mean, I think this gives some valuable feedback.
Yeah.
I do have a question. I may know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The recreation director is not on the list.
No, she's a direct report of mine. It's not a direct report of the town manager.
Any director?
No, so that would be the Council on Aging Director, the Recreation Director, Veterans Agent, and Community Services.
Thank you.
11's still a lot of people, right? Just for the record, just so you know. Thank you, Karen. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my only question on it, so thank you. I like the direction, full stop. With the 360 review, is that public?
The feedback will be...
Because like we go through and have a discussion and what we take care of becomes sort of, we go through it in public. Right? Is it?
Yep.
So I think, are you getting to the?
No, I'm just asking. I don't know.
I know, I had a discussion with Jess around, our responses and that result are shared, but I don't think it's appropriate to have the individual staff. Theirs, and it's
yeah, I mean, we could certainly do...
People will interpret whether their comments
Yeah.
sometimes has a very
right.
impact on what they choose to say.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is we're working on a method to have those 11 individuals return the reviews completely, anonymously. I don't want to know what my fellow managers are saying about the town manager in terms of who said what, which we've got a couple of methods in mind for how we do that. And then certainly we could do some sort of a summary document or a compilation of that feedback, similar to the summary documents I do for
I
all
think
of
we
the
should just
board.
think about what we're going to discuss in public about the 360 reviews. That's all. I don't know the answer. Just bring it up as a...
Ours is only public as a compilation, right?
Yes.
Ours, just want to be sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
But I'm just,
so, yeah.
all I'm saying, that's all. It's just when we
Yeah,
get 11 people participating, it brings another
Yep.
That will surely be a question of the SMT members as well, so we'll be discussing, or I'll be discussing all of that with them as well as we get towards rolling this out.
I would assume, Jess, though, that a compilation of the 360 is also a public document.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if there's a question about that, that should be answered before it's distributed.
Absolutely, and I'll include that in my cover memo to the SMT folks.
So those are submitted anonymously,
Yes.
even to the town manager? So
No, they're submitted to Jeff.
They come to me. So we're either going to do some sort of a Google form, as long as we can ensure that it will indeed be anonymous, and then worst case, it'll be a fillable form for them as well. They could, in theory, type it up and then, put it in a mailbox somewhere. We'll figure something out, because we definitely want to protect that. Now, that said, I know a lot of times people fill that out, even on the select board, and they have no problem saying who they are or what they're writing, but I would expect that the SMT group will be a little more anonymous.
Yeah. That's good. Cool. Good, appreciate it. It was, so a lot of these were recommendations from last year, changing of the scale, including feedback from staff. It's
Yep, I
really
think that's
helpful.
great.
So it's great. Thank you, Jess. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
That's good.
I look forward to that.
That was easy. Two
All
more
right.
things, we can do it.
Well, so it's sort of a question. So in terms of the goals, that's where we're going next, right? So I want to see if we can save some time. So you have in your packet, what I attempted to do was give a status on the goals that the last time we reviewed this was in February. So again, it was sort of quick. You all may have had some edits or would like to make some changes to that. I'm certainly open to that feedback. So there's two ways to do that. Tonight, we can actually go through that and talk through that, or I had a couple highlights of things that I knew were not in that I thought I would share.
You talking about the 2025-26 goals?
The 25, 26 goals. And then we'll talk about and 27.
Okay.
Right.
Can we read them and more? I mean, can we send you comment? I mean,
Yeah, so I guess that's one approach to this. Did you all get a chance to read it through? What I wanted to make sure we did was have that we document this at the end of the year, right? Because we really, we just should. I don't know if we did it last year, maybe we did. But I just want to make sure that we've gone through it. It's a good exercise to understand what we haven't done. Maybe we can reflect on how we wrote that goal, and maybe we could do things differently going forward. And obviously, many things are moving into 27, so you see many of those are happening. So as we think about 27, it's certainly relevant there. So as we go through this, where it says a 2027 goal, like DCAM RFP requirement submitted, we're not doing it this year. It's obviously something that will be for 2027. So I gave this update. And Megan actually has given a very comprehensive update on the cell service goals that were in here. So that's very well documented. I assume you've all read that in there. I don't know if you have.
The old goals. Yeah, sorry.
So, no, actually, it's in the it's at the bottom of the goals. She's got a separate memo. So what I might write, what I wrote probably should be replaced with what Megan provided, because it's certainly more
Do you
comprehensive.
still would like comments on the
Yeah, I mean, is there, and I think the one that's not here, I did get updates on the wastewater treatment system capacity. So I can verbally tell you what I got on those, because it was not in here. I can do that, or we can collect everyone's feedback. We could send it to Kristen, and then we can bring all of these back.
That's a good idea.
You want to do that at this point?
I feel like we should have a more comprehensive discussion.
About it, right. It's late.
Firing up.
Right, I know. So
After we have that all together.
I mean, you've done a lot of work here, which is awesome, so thank you. But, how do we best?
Yeah, I think we need to have the right discussion. So I would suggest, if you can, send edits to Kristen. Hope you don't mind, Kristen. And then we'll consolidate and have this discussion again, maybe on the 22nd. I think that's probably better. I did, however, want to queue up 2027 goals. I did give you the categories that we discussed in February. And then I just want to get you thinking about 2027 goals. Because what I'd like to do when we do them, first of all, I want to have fewer. We have a lot of goals here. I don't think we need quite so many. I mean, there's some very large projects that we're working on, so some of these will be obvious. But when we write them up, I do want to put them in a smart format so that they're clear. We understand what they are and they're achievable, and that we understand what the timelines are. I know it's obvious, but some of that. I'd also like to try to, and we'll talk about this when we talk about the goals, but I want to try to include somehow some accountability around the goals. I want to identify what committees or departments or even select board members are most heavily involved in that particular goal, with the goal of, when we do liaison reports, we do some regular statusing of those particular goals. And maybe we're doing this already. I just want us to be a little more deliberate about it, if that's possible. And then The other thing, this is sort of my thing as we think about goals. We have, and I've talked to Carrie about this several times, we have lots of strategy documents, plan documents, et cetera. And I would like us to, for the committees that own those, to look at those particular plans and really look at the plans and say, what are we doing in 2027 that relates to those plans so that we're trying to make some progress on those plans? I'll give the planning board credit. They go back every single year, look at Concord's 2030, Envision Concord, and they look at all the things they're assigned to do and they tick them off and they say, this is what we're going to do this year. So I think with all our plans, it's a great practice to be able to just be mindful of all the plans that we have. So.
And you say more about the accountability part. I like the idea of that, but at some level we're all accountable for each one. But how would you?
Maybe it's part of, the climate action plan is owned by the Climate Action Committee, right? I just wanted to be explicit, and then so it may be obvious. So if you're the liaison to the Climate Action Committee, I'd like to make sure that the select board members. Working with the committee to make sure that they identify sort of what in their plan they're going to be doing in 27. And actually, in addition to that, thinking forward for 28. So we're going to be working on the FY 28 budget. So it would be really nice if there was some feedback to Kerry and team around having them think through sort of what is coming in 28, are there budget implications? And it could be operational or sort of capital. So I just want to be thinking forward a little more about what are our goals and the committees should prioritize those.
I'm going to throw a wrench in this for a minute. I'm sorry, but we did a lot of work last year, I thought, as far as aligning the committee's goals to the select board goals.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes the plans that some individual committees don't align with select board goals, or they were never really aligned. You know what I mean? They were never really blessed by the select board. So I'm wondering, which takes priority? Is it a plan that they had a consultant write, or is it the select board goals that are their prime directive for that this year and next year?
And maybe I'm mixing two things. It's sort of, these are the select board goals, right? But we're also mindful of all the work that is going on out there across all the committees, and we should be working with and helping those committees focus their priorities as well. But they do have their priorities too. So from a liaison perspective, it's trying to have them focus a little bit on understanding what's coming in 27 and 28. From our priorities, we should be mindful of what those committees are focused on too. So,
well, Again, I thought it was the select board had goals that kind of trickled down, and it even trickled down to the staff level, and I thought that was a good
So let me say it different. Let me use some examples from 26. I was on the Financial Audit Advisory Committee. We had issues with audits. I put those in here to make sure that we got the audits done on time, et cetera. There were things around the Climate Action Committee in here. And also, there might be others that are in here too, but, on for the CMLP, we knew the CMS solar was going to be done. There's something in here around the pushback of power to
the grid.
To the grid. Those are the kind of things that those committees are working on as priorities that did come into our goals as well. But that's because partly we as liaisons also brought them. We all came up with goals for the committee. We were all trying to represent some of the work that was going on in the committee as well.
Mary, are you
across the
suggesting
committees.
that trickle down would involve every committee, or just, we have
I'm
60,
not-
I'm just wondering or are they just certain committees that align with strategies? Others are just doing...
I'm not asking every committee to do that, no.
Valuable work, but it may not align with the goal. I don't know what the answer is.
Right.
Yeah, I guess in my experience, it's sort of at two levels. So one is there are some goal categories like Wendy outlined, right? So there might be some things that provide a little bit broader umbrella under which
Yeah.
the different committees will go and sort of, execute their work. So, hey, here's some of our strategic planning goals. Here's some of our financial management goals, not necessarily specific
Right.
to each committee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Provide some direction and travel.
Yep.
Then there might also be some, what I call big rocks, right?
Okay.
Some big projects that we're actually going to call out in our goals.
Okay,
Because they're big
that's good.
enough that, hey, MCI.
Okay,
Like, oh,
what about the
or
little
land
rocks?
use or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are sort of like, hey, in addition to sort of
That's-
these broad
that's
goals,
obvious, that's right.
Here's kind of a handful of things that
Yep.
we're
Yeah.
kind of calling out are the big projects that we're going to be particularly focused on.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily every project that every committee's
Yeah,
doing,
no.
but it is calling out some of the big ones.
Okay, what about the mayor?
So anyways, that to me might be a way to maybe think about it.
Yeah, that'll happen, I think, organically. I mean, I think if there are big projects out there that the committees are
Yeah.
working on,
Right.
they'll obviously rate our goals
Right.
too. What I'm concerned about is if we've got a committee that's got its own goal, or
It should fit with some of these categories here
I would,
when you start
that's
to
what I'm,
outline.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to lose what we started last year, which is
Right.
we have the select board goals, and that
Right.
trickles down to
Yeah.
the committees, and it trickles down to the, because that was great. So let's not abandon that now and say, okay, every committee has their own plan,
No,
and their,
yeah.
you know what I mean? That's what I'm,
Yeah,
exactly.
so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I
Yeah,
didn't mean
okay.
to imply that's what
Okay,
we would
good.
do.
Okay, then
I think we're making a concerted effort to bring those larger plans in front of the select board,
Right.
like you heard the historical,
Right.
the plan, but you can provide your feedback.
That's right.
We're trying to do the same thing, get the, with the transportation plan, get that in
Right.
front of
That's-
the
Right.
select board so that
Yes.
there can be some understanding that there isn't some large thing in any one of those plans that
Good.
is completely opposed to.
That's important,
Right.
good. Then that will solve that problem.
So the other piece of this, which, getting after Cam's thing where we have these big rocks, is
Right.
committees like the CAC, okay?
Yep.
They have a plan, and one of their goals is to update the plan.
Right.
But inside the plan, there are actually things.
Yeah.
Like, we want to get to this level of solar. We want to get to this much, this many pedestrian
Okay.
trips.
Yeah, yeah.
We want to get, and that is.
It's in number 4, resilience and sustainability.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot
No,
in there.
all I'm saying
No,
is.
but I know what you're going
Yeah,
to do.
it's in there.
How do we encourage them or guide them to pull a few threads out of the larger plan and focus on them and get them,
Done.
and push them forward?
Yes.
That's all.
Okay.
That's the question I'm kind of
Yeah.
struggling with, is, how does this go down to that granular level where they're actually
So
working with this plan? I mean, it might be aspirational that we want to get to this much solar, or we want to have
Well,
this
so, I mean,
many batteries. Or
I guess
whatever.
it's the same point about getting the committees to prioritize some of their work. I mean, to your point, it's the big rocks, right? So we know this Climate Action Committee,
Right.
I mean, first of it, they have to update their plan. They have to prioritize within the plan
Right.
what they're going to want to do, whether it's this year, next year.
This gets back to the question we haven't finalized, the role of the liaison.
Right.
Because we start talking about that.
Yes.
But the role of the liaison to,
I didn't document it.
well, I think that.
But I think that he's bringing up a
It
good
is.
point.
One of our roles is
Yeah.
to
And I think-
help that alignment.
I think you are too. You're saying that's
That
part of the
alignment.
liaison role.
It is kind of
Yeah.
where I was going, but, yeah.
So to give my example, to put some more meat on the bone of my example,
Yeah.
the CAC has the Climate Action Plan, but to get things done, people from the outside had to come in and pluck out things like I did with solar,
Yeah.
or like the students did with composting, and say, let's just get this thing that's in the plan accomplished. Shouldn't the committee take one or two
Yes.
things and do them?
Well, they take the leadership and take one or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's all.
The short answer is yeah.
and I guess that's where I was going with accountability too. It's
Yeah.
like if you have a plan, you
Yes.
own it, right?
Okay,
So build a
okay.
plan,
That sounds
right?
like a
I
great
guess that's
model.
You're
kind
going to
of.
make us accountable.
Well,
Well, we haven't talked about liaison. We'll get there.
One of our, but even at a higher level, like even one of our board goals can be like, make it happen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, no,
just-
get things done, or get things
but
done.
Seriously, but say, hey, we would like to ask to pick one, or, is there a
I
thing?
think
That's a
or two
good
that you-
idea. Save
but
that.
Actually have it as a goal, right? But let's.
No, really, that's a good idea.
so I know one of the other plans that's going to get updated, or ought to get
It's hard,
updated,
yeah.
is the open space and rec plan. That
That's-
needs an update.
And that's the one that
It's in progress.
Delia's working on, right?
Right, it should be.
Yeah,
Is that,
it is.
is it open space or is it the rec plan?
It's both.
It's
It's open space and rec.
So what happened to the rec strategic
Well,
plan?
that is,
Still there, it's done.
So then why do we need a rec and open?
No, because that's
hers is
that's
more
the
open
structure of that one.
space.
Sorry.
It's passive.
I know the answer, I'm just being, I'm being a
To
jerk.
return to the
Okay.
example I was trying to make, okay, I worked on that one in 2015. I don't know that anybody ever had a regular process of coming back to that plan
No,
and
that's the
saying,
point.
how are we doing against, and the back end of that plan must have had 30 or 40 things. to
Okay,
do.
but the first thing that needs to happen, and that was what Carrie is saying, is they need to come to the select board and get our input into the plan, because I don't think that ever happened with that plan.
The
Well,
climate.
that was
Okay,
2015,
so-
so,
Well, but seriously, I mean, if we're going to go with this model that we started, we have to get the plans here so they can be integrated into our goals.
right.
All right. This has been a good discussion. It's really late. So provide your feedback on 26.
All right.
Be thinking about your goals for 27 if you have ideas for 27. I'm going to take the ones that were identified in this plan for 27 and attempt to write them up. If you have others.
Okay.
So is the new
that you
guy
want.
here, the
Oh.
form that you filled out, Wendy, and provided in the meeting
Yeah,
packet,
yeah.
those goals look very shorthand. Is that the length of our goals document?
I would like
Or
a-
is there a longer document with?
No, this is the goal
Different-
document.
That's fine.
The old one.
But yeah, no, this is the old one.
That's
right.
the old one.
Yeah.
The new
No, that's
ones
right.
have the major categories, but then there's.
So these major categories are just an agreement. This one has like 6 different buckets.
Okay.
We just agreed that we'd have 4 large
Okay.
categories of
All right,
goals, and then there'll be a
just
goal
getting the
within
picture,
them.
that's
Yep,
all.
yep. No.
It's fine.
Sorry, Dina, appreciate that.
Could we propose another category, not tonight, but offline?
What's the goal category?
Communications?
Okay, so this is getting to the next agenda item.
Oh, yeah, do you want to do this, you want to do the last agenda?
Okay, so do we want to do, okay, it's 10 of 10. I just want to ask, do people want to defer this and have it at the next meeting? So let me just tell you that one of the things I want to talk about was agenda planning. In this, I have to tell you, the June 22nd meeting is already chock full of a lot of things. And so we want to have a very meaty discussion around goals. And this, I'm wondering if we should add another meeting.
I think we
Like
should,
June
yes.
15th? Can we
Yes.
do June 15th? Is that going to kill you,
That-
Carrie? June 15th?
Is a problem.
Is that a problem? All right.
Just,
I can do it, but not, I mean, it's,
can we do it some other time?
Some other
You
time.
mean time of day?
Like 4 PM or?
We mean earlier, would it matter if it's earlier, Dean?
No, it doesn't matter. I'm out of town.
Oh,
100%.
that would be,
I can't
okay.
do the 15th either.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
There you go.
How about the 16th?
Nope,
That's a
I'm out of
Tuesday.
town that week. Done.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay.
Do you have Zoom?
I'm not,
Don't you just hate?
All right.
Miracle called Zoom. I've done it, it works.
Yeah, well, I'm on vacation. I'm going to look forward
You're
to
on
it.
vacation, I've done that too.
Okay. All right, we're not going to resolve this right now.
No.
We're just getting silly.
But I will tell you, I do think that on the 22nd, did I say this already? That we're probably going to need an executive session.
Yep.
And if it's
Okay.
not the
I'm gonna have
22nd, it will be after that.
starting before 6,
Okay,
22nd.
okay. Then it might be later.
Do 6, but
Which,
We're trying to coordinate another.
right, we're trying to
meeting on
coordinate.
MCI.
Yeah.
The executive session that was proposed for the 22nd on that other meeting date.
Okay.
We're going to circulate a
More to follow.
in the next.
We'll do some polls. We just have a lot of things that are open right now, so.
Okay, okay.
Okay, I think we're going to defer the communications because we're all too tired.
Okay.
I apologize for this long meeting. I am a little concerned about the 22nd because it is chock full of like 4 different, we have the hate and bias thing coming. Your report is there. We have a decarbonization roadmap. There were like 4 large things already for the 22nd, so I'm just concerned about timing. So we may have to do a poll for another meeting.
Okay.
Sorry, it's just too much. Anyways, I think we're ready to adjourn. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, sorry, I
Thank
won't
you.
do this again. Until next meeting.
So June 22nd.